Welcome to the Technical Foul Podcast. I'm your host, Manny Fresh, joined by my co-host, Jet. What up?
Bill, what's good?
Shit, man. Another week, another dollar, man. Just enjoying life.
Yeah, bro. I feel you, dog. Like we was talking earlier, I got done with finals. Nigga, I made it through the semester relatively unscathed. So now I'm just trying to chill, bro.
I feel you, man. I know the feeling. Trust. You get done with finals, nigga. You feel like a free man. You feel like life is, you feel like a totally different man, dog.
Hell yeah. I got done Friday. I walked out of the at Curry. My nigga, I was doing the fucking George fucking Jefferson strut.
Yeah, definitely. I know, man. Especially them long ass semesters. You feel like they're never ending. Yeah, I know, dog. I know the feeling.
Nigga,
trust me.
Yo, the worst is just like, I was cool up until Thanksgiving. Then they're like, oh, cool, we have a break, but we're going to study for finals, and I'm going to still give you assignments. So I was like, nigga, like, relax. But, you know, it's all good. Like, it really, like, makes you buckle down and work on your preparation and your time management and all that. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thankful, like, because if I was 20, 21, nigga, bro, I'd be stressed out. But, you know, I made it through relatively, like...
Nigga, if I was 21, dog, I couldn't do it. Like, I would just be like, man, I don't got time for this shit. Who needs school?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I was like, fuck it. Let's go. Let's get it. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? It was cool. Like, I'm just ready to, like, chill, get my mind and shit in order, you know, relax finally for a little while, and then, you know what I mean, get back to it in January. I don't go back till, like, the end of January, so... Got a nice little chill period. Maybe try and take a vacation or something in between time. But, you know.
Oh, okay.
Just chilling there. Finally, like, really getting a chance to enjoy some football and, you know what I mean? Like, really be able to keep tabs on shit. Because, like I said, finals week, dog, I might as well rock.
Yeah, I feel you, man. All them fucking papers and finals you got to take and shit. I mean, dog, it just feels like it's never ending, B.
Dog, my sociology professor was wildin'. This nigga gave us a 70-some-odd page question final and, like, 4 essay questions.
What?
Yeah. I was like,
nigga.
bro, come on.
It's weird. It's weird, like, cause, like, I used to always hate, like, I used to ask other classmates and stuff like that. Like, you rather have a final where it's like a test, or would you rather just have like a final paper essay? And I always used to go back and forth, like, do you want to have a final, or do you want to have like an essay or a paper to write? And I'm like, I mean, to me, I'd rather have a paper where I have a topic and I can just kind of,
yep.
And I can kind of just.
I did that for my, I took, intro to broadcasting at,
Oh, word? That's cool.
I took intro to broadcasting. My professor for that class runs the radio show or the radio station at my school. So next semester I'm gonna like get involved with the radio and all that shit.
That's cool.
But he like let us pick a topic for our paper. So what I did, I wrote like a 5-page paper about like the radio broadcasting in Vietnam, like during the war, like they set up a radio station and all that shit. So like I covered like the history, like the censoring and the propaganda, like all that in a paper. I'm waiting for this nigga to give me my grade back because I know I got an A on that bitch. I just want to see it on the paper. I prepared my ass off for that. Like I compiled like a bunch of good like sources and stuff. So like I made like a really like nice robust paper. You know what I mean? So that was. We didn't have to do a final exam because I know if I had to take a final exam in that class, I wouldn't have done really well.
Yeah, man, you gotta sit there. Yeah, so much info. You gotta fucking go look back at information, dates, and then you always find a way to slip in some like innocuous questions that like just a topic you covered like very loosely that you don't even fucking remember. Like, yeah, so they always try to throw those in there to kind of fool you and shit.
Yep. So the content in that class is good, but it's like literally like the history of radio. So they'll be like, oh, who founded CBS, or who started this, or who invented this, blah blah blah. Like it's crazy, like the history that's involved in like radio and broadcasting and TV. Like just the amount of shit that people were able to do like so long ago is like mind blowing. That like one person had the idea of like, yo, like we need to have radio that doesn't get interfered with. Okay, I'm gonna make this like device that cuts the interference, and then boom, FM radio was born. Like it's crazy like how they did that, you know what I mean, in like the 1930s, the 1920s, you know what I mean? Like it's wild that they went from Morse code to like full on having music and radio shows and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Everybody had a radio, so it was a real interesting class like to take. And then the paper like was a real good way to like culminate it. You know what I mean? So for me is much better than taking a phone, because like if I write an essay, I can prepare on my own terms and I can write it when I want to. I can put what I want into it and like really put it across, you know, the way that I want to.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, for a grade, you know what I mean? But like it's still like I'm in the driver's seat, so like I write the paper, I know I'm gonna get a good grade, versus like some fucking question that you don't understand on a final and you're like, hold up, what is this? Or you have two answers that seem like they're the right one and you're like, damn, I don't have the option for like A and C, it's only A and D or something, like some stupid shit like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I feel you. Yeah.
So, but I mean, you know, that's what we do. We're all college educated, so we got to put up with the shit in order to get the piece of paper with our names on it. So
that is true. That is indeed true, man. Indeed true.
Yo, why are they still showing Dak Prescott in commercials? This nigga's not good enough to be a fucking in a commercial. Like, I'm tired of the bullshit.
Hey, man.
If this nigga played for the Arizona Cardinals, he would not be.
I mean, but he does it. You know, he plays for the Cowboys. You know, this nigga's about to get mad burn on the commercials. You know that.
This commercial, they made like a Game of Thrones type commercial. This shit is like kind of hard though. Like it's in the snow with like Earl Thomas and Michael Thomas and these other like, you know, household names. But they got this fucking chunky soup eating ass nigga that Bro, like I don't even want to go off on this dude, but yo, I said it when it first, after this, without Ezekiel Elliott, this nigga's fucking, what's my nigga's name from the Chiefs from way back in the day? Trent Green.
Trent Green?
He's Trent Green.
Oh, yeah. You didn't give him the Trent Green treatment, nigga.
Fucking Elvis Gerback without.
Oh, that's fucked up. I like Dak, man. I mean, listen, I like Dak. I think he's a good quarterback. I mean, do I think he got overhyped after his rookie year? Yeah. I think Dak is a pretty good guy. I mean, he's balling now. I mean, he's turned it around the last couple of weeks. I mean, he remember he went through like that 3-week stretch where he was throwing interception after interception. They played well though the last couple of weeks, and he's kind of gotten it back on track. I like Dak. I like what I've seen from him so far. When Ezekiel, because that's how you really get to tell if a quarterback is great or not. You know, you take his best weapon away and you see the level of maturity that he's able to play with. And I've been impressed with him, the last couple weeks. Although, like, I was with you at the beginning of last year. Like, I was like, yo, slow down on this Dak Prescott hype. Like, I saw him at Mississippi State and I was like, I was never really impressed with him like that. Like, I thought he was okay, but I never thought like, oh man, Dak Prescott, we're watching a Hall of Fame quarterback here. Like, I don't know, but I mean, I've been impressed with him. He's grown on me. Do I think he's Ben Roethlisberger? No, I wouldn't go there just yet. I mean, I think he's good.
He's a slightly better Quincy Carter.
Oh, that's come on now, dog. That's a little much now. Come on now. That's low. That's low. Quincy Carter, nigga. God, ooh, nigga, that's just shade. He's for the sake of shade.
Brooks with like better.
No, you didn't, dog. You just compared this nigga to Aaron Brooks, bro. Come on, man. That's terrible.
He's definitely better.
Nigga, a lot of people are better than Aaron Brooks. You ain't saying much, nigga. A lot of people are better than Aaron Brooks. So did the Aaron Brooks Nation. So did the Aaron Brooks fan club. So did the New Orleans Saints. A lot of people had hope for Aaron Brooks.
This is a time where there was barely any black quarterbacks. We had fucking McNabb and Culpepper, and that was really it.
Oh, and Vic.
McNair.
And Vic.
Yeah.
And you had Vic. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But still,
them niggas was yeah. I feel what you're saying though, yeah, because you know niggas was really on the Aaron Brooks hype train, like, yo, Aaron Brooks was gonna be alright. And I'm like, this nigga's trash, man. This nigga is basura.
Hey, yo, wasn't Quincy Carter on that rock? He was wasn't like really like a crackhead or some shit?
I don't remember. I mean, he might have been. Shit, he might have been. I don't remember. Shit, I think so. I don't know. I don't remember.
He was I thought he was like all up in some shit. I can't remember. Hold on, let me look this shit up.
He might have been. Shit, I don't know. He might have been
like
on
some... like he was like on some shit or something. Oh, I forgot he went to the Jets for a while.
Yeah, he played with the...
I made that up. I'm sorry, Aaron. Oh, nah, he got caught.
Oh, Aaron Brooks or Quincy Carter?
Quincy Carter.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that nigga was like a crackhead or some shit. I don't know. Maybe
I know Aaron Brooks was in trouble a lot for some other shit though. Like he was in trouble for some dumb shit. Like I don't remember what the fuck it was, but I know he was in trouble a lot for some other shit. So God only knows, man. These dudes be.
Yeah, who knows what they. Yo, but for real, like, honestly, to make fun of like the quarterbacks or the athletes, but like most like athletes and shit are always into some shit. Like them niggas are like rich and ignorant. Like,
I wouldn't say most of them, but a lot of them are, because a lot of them are just immature as fuck.
I shouldn't say most, but like a good portion of it. Yo, the Vikings are fucking smoking the Bengals, dog. These niggas got past the sticks. 24
to nothing. Well, shit, they just found out their fucking coach just got shit canned, so it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me.
Worse without him.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. But yeah, before we start, man, you watch Star Wars yet?
Nah, not yet. I don't like going to packed theaters, so, and like, I went to check to see, because I had an 8:30 final on Friday, so I was like, yeah, let me sauce out of here real quick and then go see if I can like finesse a seat at the movies or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I had like maybe like 10 seats open, but them shits were all in the front, and I was like, I don't want to see the movie that bad to sit in the front and like with my neck looking up. You know what I mean? So I was like, try and stay off Twitter and avoid spoilers. And I'll go see it. Like maybe I won't.
Well, that's good then, because I was gonna bring into the show my boy as a guest, my boy Dorian. He does a lot of movie reviews, and he had a lot of strong opinions that I disagree with, by the way. On this film. I was gonna bring him on today, but I forgot to hit him up on time, so I didn't get a chance to kind of book it. But I'll probably do that next week. Bring him on the show after you've watched it, and we can kind of discuss it, because he's got a lot of thoughts on it. I got a lot of thoughts on it, and I know some fans are already thinking, nigga, we don't listen to y'all show to listen to fucking Star Wars reviews, nigga. Fuck y'all. Y'all gonna listen to this damn Star Wars review because it's Star Wars. Like, come on now, like. How can you be a human on Earth and not care about Star Wars, dog? Like, at least in some way, shape, or form. But anyway, that's my little spiel. But yeah, I was gonna bring him on, but
the NFL was crazy this week, bro. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yo, so the Bills
just cut me off, nigga. Just cut me off. I ain't talking.
I'm sorry, I'm just watching the highlights.
Light skinned niggas, golly.
Anyway, but nah, I mean, everybody, Star Wars polarizing like franchise, like it's a cultural phenomenon basically at this point. It's been around since the 70s.
I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it too much of the movie, but like I tweeted last night, because I just been kind of letting a day or two sink in and read all the differing opinions, and obviously, I mean, it's made a shitload of money, obviously, like any Star Wars film, so far. And it's got 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. So the critics loved it. Some fans are iffy on it. I think it's got like a 50% audience score on it. And it just pisses me off, because it's like, and I'm just going to go on this quick little rant and I'm done. I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Hey, do your thing, because I too hate fans of franchises.
Because like, it's these fans, like The Force Awakens. The biggest criticism that The Force Awakens got was that, it was a remake of Episode 4. It was too much like New Hope, blah, 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 and it was a derivative and blah, blah, blah. And I understand, like, I love Force Awakens. I loved it for what it was. I agree that there was a lot of similarities to Episode 4. I just think that they were just trying to reintroduce it back to back as a Star Wars film, a next chapter. So they did a lot of the things that worked in the first original trilogy. So I think that's what it came off as, is it was an homage to it, but I don't think it was like a carbon copy of Episode 4, but whatever. A lot of fans hated it and that's understandable. And I wouldn't say they hated it, but were critical of it because it was too like A New Hope or the original Star Wars in 77. So then now Rian Johnson makes a completely new, a different take on the Star Wars. They play a lot with the Star Wars lore, with the Jedi lore. I'm not going to go too much into it, but they do a lot that changes up the story, and people just are fucking pissed. It's like, what is it that you want? You criticize one movie for being like another Star Wars movie, yet you criticize this movie for being too different and going way out there and way out on a limb and doing something. And I'll just say this. I love the movie. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was great. Was it perfect? No, but I thought it was great. I had small problems with it. I just had one major small problem with it. Well, two, really. Outside of that, I thought it was a great film. So I'll say that. We can talk more about it next week, but I just don't understand these fucking fans or these fan bases for franchises that just, like, they're never satisfied. It's like, if a movie is too different from the original, they bitch. If the movie's too much like the original or it's your common sequel where everything is just a derivative of the first one, but bigger and bolder. Oh, you didn't challenge yourselves and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what the fuck is it that you want? I don't understand. That's my rant. That's my rant.
Like, fans are like, so not to like, cause let me preface this by saying that I'm a fucking nerd.
As am I. Even though I curse a lot and I got the ultimate swag, I'm a nerd.
Like, nerds for the most part, are never fucking satisfied. Like, it was always like, the biggest thing about The Force Awakens that I heard was that it was too safe. They played it too safe.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what the fuck do you want them to do? It's a soft reboot, basically. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're introducing some new, a lot of new characters, but let's call it what it is. It's basically a soft reboot. You can't start a new movie franchise with, like, a bunch of changes. You have to introduce backstories and plots and things like that. Like, you can't just throw it to the wolves. That's like saying, like, okay, we're going to start off with The Empire Strikes Back, which is my favorite one. You can't start with The Empire Strikes Back if you don't have A New Hope and you don't have this understanding of where the characters came from and what their personality types are. You can't have a movie like that. Like, you can't do it out of sequence like that. And I just think that, like, fans are never fucking satisfied, bro. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it could be new director, new producers, da-da-da-da-da-da. Some people, because before they were blaming George Lucas. And they're saying, oh, George Lucas has gotten too attached to this, and this is his baby, and he doesn't want to take chances, da-da-da-da-da-da. It's just, like, I don't understand why people can't, like, enjoy the movie. Like, it's a sequel. Like Rogue One was a standalone, and I thought it was fucking awesome. I liked Rogue One better than I liked The Force Awakens.
As did I.
It was a totally different movie, so I'm okay in saying, like, I like The Force Awakens, you know what I mean? I thought it was cool. It was a little campy, but I understand Star Wars does have this level of campiness to it, you know what I mean? But, like, it was a good film. I didn't like how they played my boy Finn because they kind of sold him as being, like, a Jedi or whatever, so I was like, alright, like, they kind of made him, like, the
yeah, they did play with the marketing a little bit with Finn. I'll agree, but I still like Finn's character. I think he did it.
Yeah, it's like, it's a necessary character to have in an ensemble type of cast. It is what it is, you know what I mean? So, but, like, I just took the movie for what it was. Like, it was entertaining. It has some dope lightsaber sequences. Look, when I watch Star Wars, what I want to see is some people using the fuck out of the Force. I want to see somebody get fucked up with the Force. I want to see some ill lightsaber duel. And I want to see some fights in space. That's as long as everything is centered around that, I'll leave the movie theater happy. But, like, some people just expect so much, and people are like, oh, it was overhyped and this and that and the third. But, like, whose fault is that? Like, if you buy into the hype, that's not the director's fault. That's your fucking fault for getting your expectations too high for a fucking film that it doesn't fall along with your personal expectations and your personal, wants and needs for a film franchise. Like, that's your fucking fault. Like, don't blame it on Disney. Don't blame it on the directors. Don't blame it on the producers. Don't blame it on the actors. Like, that's what pisses me off the most, is that people want so much out of this franchise, but, like, it's impossible to have everything 2 movies in. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just, I didn't even plan on having a mini tirade, but there we go.
Yeah, I feel you, dog. I mean, listen, I think that, the thing that's going to piss off a lot, and I knew it was going to
hate fans of a lot of things.
I agree, me too. And I'm a part of that same fan base, and I hate my fellow fans, sometimes. Yeah. Like, I think the thing that's going to piss off a lot of people, and again, I'm not trying to spoil it as much as I can. I'm trying not to spoil it, but they did do away with a lot of the lore of the Force and a lot of the things that people have come accustomed to learning and knowing about the Force and loving, quite frankly, about the Force. And a lot of, like, major plot points kind of got messed with, and I wouldn't say did away with, but kind of did away with is a good description for it. I mean, and I knew that it was going to piss off some people, but I mean, the level of fury that people were having about this film is just like, dog, it's a great, and it's like, and the thing is, like, most of them would admit it's a good movie for what it is. They just don't like certain aspects of it. And I'm like, well, you guys are never fucking satisfied. I'm like, what is it? I mean, again, I sat here and I fucking listened to fan after fan after fan tell me that Force Awakens was this, that it was that, it was this, that, and the other. And then they try to do something completely different. They try to go in a different direction. They try to take new characters. They try to take characters into new directions. And you guys are fucking bitching and moaning about it. Like, what is it? You can't have it both ways. That's the problem I have with fans. You can't have it both ways. You can't complain that sequels are too derivative and they're too much like the original source. And then complain that, oh, well, blah, 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 they did too much. They went too out of the box. They took it to the left field, blah, 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 this, that. And, it's just like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. It is what it is. Either you have one way or another. Like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with my rant. We'll talk more about it next week, I'm sure, when you watch the movie. I'm gonna bring my boy Dorian in. I'm shining him out because I'm trying to get him on the show. He will come on the show. He's down to come on the show anytime and give me his differing opinions on this movie. And I don't want to sit here and say he hated it, because I don't think he hated it. I just think he had a lot of problems with the setup and the plot and all that. And I did have some issues with the plot. Like, there was a major part in the plot that bothered me because it kind of felt like it went nowhere. Or it didn't feel like it. It did go nowhere. So that, and if you watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about. So that's all I'm going to say. But you'll watch it this week sometime, hopefully, and we can talk more about it next week or so.
Yeah, definitely. Me and you see eye to eye more movies than we do with sports. So it's a little
because I'm a real nigga when it comes to sports, and you not, nigga. That's all it is. Basically what it is, nigga.
Fuck out of here. You a real dumb nigga. That's what you are.
All right, hey, keep the disrespectful words to yourself, nigga. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I need the Jets to come on ahead and get this other touchdown, bro.
Oh man! Listen, I have no expectations on this game. That's why I have it on in the background. Usually I'd be watching it, but I have no expectations on this game. So
They look okay.
They look okay. Bryce Petty's playing all right, I guess. But I mean, that's what it is.
Who's your offensive coordinator?
John Morton. He used to coach for the Saints. He used to be the offensive coordinator, or he used to be the quarterback's coach for the Saints.
I'm just looking at some of these plays that they're drawing up, and I'm like, yo, why the fuck can't my coach do this fucking shit? Like, if y'all had a legit quarterback.
Oh, we'll get to your we'll get to your coach in a second. But we
definitely can. I'm just looking at how these dudes open, and it's actually really refreshing to watch.
Yeah.
Like, just to watch an offense that doesn't have quote unquote a lot of talent. Like, you don't have a lot of big names at receiver, but these guys are just getting open in space, and I think that's something that every team can do if you have a good offensive coordinator. Like, you scheme around the defense, you find spaces.
I would argue you guys will be able to do that if you have a good quarterback, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Let's not bury Lily.
Listen, yeah, we'll talk about that. I don't think Jameis is a bad quarterback. He's having a bad year, but I'll go over the reasons why a lot of it is coaching, because coaching and quarterback play are so closely connected, more so than any position. I think that you can't put your quarterback in bad situations and expect him to do well. You can't call up all these long developing passing plays with a shit offensive line, and you can't do it. This guy is allergic to calling screens to Deshaun Jackson, who can take a 5-8 yard slant and take it 20 yards maybe. He's one of the fastest players in the league. Still, you have Mike Evans, who's a good he's not a deep threat, he's not a burner, but you get him the ball to the outside, you can pick up intermediate chunks of change. You know what I mean? But over the past couple of weeks, Doug Martin and Charles Sims have had more targets than Mike Evans. Two running backs have had more targets than who last year was a top 3 receiver. That ain't Jameis' fault.
This nigga's mad, ain't he?
Bro, I did not want him to be our coach. I did not want him to be our head coach. And
you wasn't complaining about him last year? You was not complaining about him last year.
Huh?
You were not complaining about him last year.
The fuck I wasn't. There's no reason our offense was Mike Evans last year. Mike Evans was balling out.
And y'all defense did play a lot better last year. That was the unsung hero of y'all team.
We had a 5-game streak. But actually, you know what? I didn't complain about Cutter a lot, but I did. So let me roll that back, because our offense looked a lot different last year. I don't know how we managed to add weapons and the offense regressed. Our offensive line is not as good, and that's really the GM's fault. But the scheme of it is that just if you're I was saying just a minute ago, guys are in space getting open and things like that. And I was telling you earlier, there was a 4th and 1 call from a couple of weeks ago, and everyone is 10 yards beyond the first down marker. If it's 4th and 1 and you're going for it, why is there not one of Cameron Brate, who's one of the best tight ends in the league, and O.J. Howard, who has potential to be the best tight ends in the league? Why are two of those guys? Why do you not have anyone running towards the sticks? That shit like that is what aggravates me. I can call that playing Madden and not think twice about it. So why is an NFL coach doesn't have the awareness to do that? Why is an NFL coach not have, in his second season, mismanaging the clock, mismanaging plays, putting a third down running back in when Peyton Barber had been running all over the teams over the Lions? He takes Peyton Barber out, puts Charles Sims in, who can't run between the tackles to save his life. And once he's in the game, you know that it's going to be a passing play because he can't run. So you bail out the defense yet again. So it's like shit like that. And then you hear players and opposing defensive coordinators say like, oh, yeah, we know what plays are coming when they line up because we watch the film and they always run this play out of this set. Like, for defensive coordinators to say, yeah, we know what play is coming, that's something that should never happen on the NFL level. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm saying that sitting on my couch, but I don't get paid millions of dollars a year to fucking fool a group of 11 people with my own group. Like, that's basically what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Jameis has been very underwhelming this year. I do think that he's got more of a problem with his shoulder than it's been let on, and I felt that way for quite some time. But some of his reads and his stupid ass fucking decision making, like the kid just can't. He needs to learn how to take a sack and how not to do too much with the ball. Like that's his biggest thing. Like maybe if he had a better offensive coach who said, "Hey, listen, you don't have to do all this on your own because I'm going to help you out. I'm going to put you in a position to succeed." Look at what Sean McVay is doing with Jared Goff.
Yeah, true. I would argue Goff is more talented than Winston, but I'll go ahead and let you finish your. I'm going to let you finish your rant because we had an agenda to the show. See, this is why you can't rely on light skinned niggas because we had an agenda for the show, and all of a sudden this man wants to rant about his Buccaneers who suck and stink. But hey. Your wish is my command, my brother. I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna offer you the bully pulpit. Keep going on your rant, bro. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
Well, go ahead, man. Real spill. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I pretty much said my piece. Like I want Dirk Cutter fucking fired. Him and his boy Mike Smith can get the fuck up out of Tampa, and I don't know
why. He gonna be our next coach?
Huh?
He's gonna be your next coach. So I don't know why you want him out of Tampa.
Dirk Cutter?
Mike Smith.
Fuck out of here. He's more of a problem. He's more of a problem than Dirk. If I had to pick between the two, that was a hell of a. Who's 20, dog?
21. That's Morris Claiborne.
Damn, Mo Claiborne. Damn, that was a blast from the.
He's balling this year, man. He's healthy.
Yeah.
Because that nigga used to sneeze and get hurt.
That was a hell of a Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know what looks like. I haven't seen that in about 5 weeks.
This nigga's mad. Boy, I thought I was mad as a Jet fan. Shit, this nigga is upset.
I am a bitter Buck. I don't like how poor and I had such high expectations team, and I should have known better, but I didn't.
Well,
the 1 year that I don't get skeptical about my team and I put myself behind them, that's the year that they completely are an embarrassment. And I don't know, there's been close games, and I feel like if we had a coach who knew what the fuck he was doing, I always feel like, and I don't know if you agree or disagree with this, but it's something I heard a long time ago. Close games, pretty much in any sport, close games come down to coaching more so than the players on the field.
I agree.
And you can't. I just feel like Dirk Cutter continually gets out coached, and that's just something you can blame it on the players. Say oh, the players aren't putting a lot of effort in and things like that. But if I had to play for a dumbass coach, I probably wouldn't be very motivated either. You know what I mean? If your coach does not put you, and you could probably definitely back me up on this, when the Jets aren't having a great year, and you've had your fair share of coaches that have worn out their welcome and just haven't been able to get the players. But if the coaches aren't putting your players in a position to succeed, you're not going to get the best out of your players. And I think that's basically the story of the end of the Rex Ryan tenure there, because he basically worn out his welcome and players were all right, fuck this. Whatever. Yeah.
Again, I share your sentiments, even though I think it's funny that you're ranting on the Bucs right now. I share your sentiments, bro.
But I mean, it is. I still love my team, even though they piss me off. They drive me to drink weekly. But I like to drink, so it's okay. I don't know. I don't know which head coach is out there. A lot of people like the John Gruden things.
Mike Smith.
No, it's not. Mike Smith's gone. I think our GM, the Glazers might clean house, dog.
Listen, I'm glad you brought them. I'm glad you brought them up because can I offer a rebuttal to your rant?
You sure can.
Okay. Here's my problem with the Bucs, and I don't profess to watch the Bucs on a weekly basis. I've watched some of the games you guys have played. I watched you guys when you played the Jets. I've watched some other games here and there. So I don't, but again, I'm not an expert. You're more of an expert on your team on a week to week basis than I am. I would ever be. I will admit that. That being said, I think there's two problems with the Bucks. I think number one, I think it's the Glazers. I think they're the biggest problem with the Buccaneers. I think I think every organization, it starts at the top. And when you have shitty ownership, it reflects on the team. It just does. It absolutely does. And the problem with that franchise has been for the last 10 to 12 years has been the fucking Glazers. The Glazers are unstable. They fire coaches left and right. I mean, they go through coaches literally like chicks go through underwear. Like it's just every day. It's literally every day they go through coaches. So it's like, I think they're the biggest issue with what's going on in Tampa. I really believe that. I really, really believe that. And then I think the second thing is, I think the second issue is, I've never been high on Jameis Winston. I'll go out and say it. I thought he was going to be a bust. I still believe he's going to be a bust. I know I had to shut the fuck up the first 2 years in the league because he played relatively well, per my expectations. So I had to shut the fuck up. I didn't say anything about it. But more and more this year, I'm seeing the Jameis Winston that I thought we were always going to see. And I know he's been hurt. I know he's been banged up. I know he had the shoulder injury. I get all that. I understand all that. But I don't think the issues with him are physical. I think the issues with him are mental. I think the kid has not matured. I don't think he's ready to be an NFL quarterback. What it takes to be an NFL quarterback. From a maturity standpoint, from a mental standpoint, forget the X's and O's, forget reading coverages and defenses and all that. The mental aspect of the game. You're the leader of the football team. You are the face of the franchise. And you're doing stupid shit like he did, the shit that he pulled on the sidelines that caused the fight against the Saints, or who was it? Was it against the Saints or was it against the Falcons? I don't remember the team. It was the Saints. I thought it was against the Saints. That shit, the eating the W pregame thing, that stupid shit. The Uber, now the legal shit off the field with the fucking Uber driver, the Uber incident. We go back to the whole case of rape and FSU. He's still kind of facing some blowback for that. I mean, it's just one thing or another with this kid. And now you hear the reports after last week's game that that him and Cutter had a falling out, that him and Cutter are at odds. This is what I will say about Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If they fire Dirk Cutter, and again, I don't profess to know everything about Dirk Cutter. I don't watch Tampa Bay games left and right like you do. But I will say, and he may be a shitty coach for all I know. But the guy's only been there, this is the second season?
This is his second season as head coach.
And he's third season as an offensive coordinator. Yeah. All I will say about Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now, you've now let this quarterback get rid of now. If Dirk Cutter gets fired, you've now let this quarterback get rid of two coaches now. Two coaches now that have gotten shit canned because of him, or indirectly because of him.
It is definitely not because of Jameis. Why Lovie Smith got fired is definitely not because of.
Well, I did say indirectly. Now I didn't think was everything.
And I don't think that it's Jameis's fault that Cutters is potentially going to get fired. There's a lot of provisions. And they did come out and say, and I don't know if it's true or not, but Jameis did come out and said that there's no rift between him and Dirk. And this.
Come on. What else is he gonna say? You know that. You're savvy enough to this shit. What else is he gonna say? He's gonna say, "Yeah, I can't stand the motherfucker when I see him on the street, his hands on sight." He's not gonna say that.
I mean, everybody, and a lot of lawyers also have said that they haven't heard anything, like people that are like inside the locker room a lot. And there's a couple of sources that are inside the locker room that usually break a lot of these stories if there is personnel issues, that they'll say like, oh, okay, this is the problem. So I haven't heard any local level, so I don't know if it's true or not. But I think with Jameis I think he's a smart dude that does dumb shit. Like, I think the whole eating the W thing, like, that's fucking embarrassing. Like,
I don't think he's pretty smart at all. That's just me. I've just never been high on Winston. I mean, Liz, we've had conversations back in the day.
You can't put up the numbers. You can't put up the numbers that he's been able to put up if you're not a good quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he's talented. I'm never going to argue that he's not talented. I'm never going to not argue that. Like, he's talented. I just don't think
his thing is that he does, watching Jameis is like, he'll make one throw, one play, and you'll be like, holy shit, like, what an amazing throw. And then 2 plays later, this is the problem with Jameis Winston in a nutshell. 2 plays later, he'll make another throw, and you'll be like, yo, what the fuck were you thinking? What are you doing? Why did you, like, that's the problem with Jameis. And that's why he's so frustrating as a Bucs fan. But the problem is if you don't watch a lot of Bucs games, the media, and I'm not trying to say, like, all the media does this, but the media's job is to sell stories. So you'll see the shitty bonehead plays that he'll make. You know what I mean? Like, you'll see them more than you'll see, like, the good throws that he makes or the smart decisions that he makes. So that a lot of it is the way that it gets reported, but, like, I'll definitely agree. Like, the shit against the Saints was embarrassing.
What about the reports? What about the reports that came out that in practice? And this was the only reason I heard about this was Ira Kaufman, who covers the Buccaneers for years and years and years, and he was and he was on Mad Dog Unleashed with Chris Russo, and he reported it that during a practice session where the media was walking through and covering the team for practice, he fucking was seen throwing a football in the direction of the media. Like, literally a football in the direction of the media. Like, that's my problem with Jameis Winston. It's not people think that what makes a great quarterback is the X's and O's, the arm strength, the this and that. Like, of course, all of that is a combination of everything that makes a great quarterback. We've seen quarterbacks that have the physical talents but don't have the mental talents. We've seen quarterbacks that have all of the intangibles and the mental talents, but don't have the physical talents. Like Josh McCown, quarterback who's quarterbacking for my team, or was quarterbacking for my team last week. He's always been a guy that's been well respected. He doesn't have the physical talents. He doesn't have the arm strength or the physical tools that we just love to analyze in quarterbacks, but he has the intangibles. He's a great locker room guy. He's a great leader. Mentally, he's a very smart guy. A lot of people say he's going to be a head coach in the league one day. He has those aspects, but he just doesn't have the physical standpoint. Then you have guys like Jay Cutler, who has the physical gifts, who has all of the tools needed to be a great quarterback, but doesn't have the mental capabilities. That's what I think Jameis Winston is. Jameis Winston to me is a guy that has all the physical tools. It's never been an issue about the tools. Jameis Winston has the tools. It's just been mentally and maturity wise, does he have the ability to play big time NFL football at this level? And I just don't think he does. And I felt this way from FSU days. From his FSU days, I felt this way. So, that's to me the problem. And I think the Bucs are going to let this guy, they're going to give this guy enough rope, and eventually he's going to hang himself, and he's going to hang that whole franchise. I'm telling you right now, that's the problem.
What's going to end up happening, and I think what I want with this team, and obviously, I like Jay, I think that he can't get out of his own way. So to agree with you to an extent, I think he does have the ability to be an NFL quarterback. But I think that he just makes so many, dumbass decisions, like I said, he'll make. But
that's part of being a quarterback, Jay. But that's part of being a franchise quarterback.
This is the thing, though. He'll have a great game. Like, he was having a really good game against the Packers until he had that strip sack for a return for a touchdown. Like, he was having a great game, but no one will look at he went 25 of 29 or whatever it was that he had. But the problem is that, I don't think that our offense that's in place right now, I don't think it really suits him very much. But this is the thing. Outside of Jameis Winston, if the Glazers, who I do think that they're the biggest problem because it does trickle down, the Glazers need to put somebody, they need to put a football mind in an executive position, whether it be a vice president of football operations or something like that. Like how the fucking Jaguars went and hired Tom Coughlin. Look how the Jaguars turned around. They had a bunch of talent. Hire Tom Coughlin, come in and say, all right, this is what we're going to do. I'm in charge of the GM. I'm doing this and that and third. You give a buffer because I don't think the owners don't know fuck all about football at all. And then you have a GM who's just basically allowed to do whatever he wants to do, but they need to have a senior mind that knows football as a buffer between the GM and the owners, so that the owners can't just fucking open up the checkbook and do whatever the hell they want. There needs to be a culture change there. And if
I agree with that.
And they put a president of football operations in, somebody like I don't know, they were talking about maybe trying to hire Tony Dungy to do that, and I don't really give a fuck about Tony Dungy. I think his time has passed as a football guy. There's rumors that you can give that to John Gruden, and I don't really trust John Gruden with personnel decisions because of how things went down his end of tenure in Tampa after we won the Super Bowl. But you bring somebody that has experience in the front office, like a Bill Polian type of guy, or somebody that's worked in the New England organization or something like that. Somebody that has a mind for football. And you let them make the hires. You let them hire the GM. You let them hire the scouts. And you put these hands in the right direction to rebuild your football team, because we all know a successful franchise is a full entity. It's not about the players. It's not about just the coaches, but there needs to be a successful network of scouts. There needs to be a successful network of executives and quality control people in the front office. And we don't have any of that bullshit. And that's the biggest problem. So if the Glazers want to hire someone like a Bill Polian or someone to come in here and they want a clean house and they say, all right, Jason Light, get the fuck out of here. Dirk Cutter, pack your shit. Mike Smith, you grab your shit too, dog. Y'all can all kick fucking rocks. And if they say, hey, Jameis Winston is not the quarterback that I want to move forward for, hey, cool. Go let Jameis be successful somewhere else or he's going to flame out. That's the way that I see it. And I like Jameis, but at the end of the day, like you said, he can make or break this franchise. And I never agree with the fact that one player can make a franchise, but I don't think that one player should be able to break a franchise either. I don't think that there needs to be a merry-go-round of coaches until we can find the right coach. But the coach is never going to be. But Judd,
the thing with that,
the culture, if the culture above him doesn't ever change.
Judd, but you know as well as I know that when you draft a quarterback, see that's the thing about that's the gift and the curse of drafting a quarterback, especially with the top pick. When you hit on that pick, you have a guy that impacts your franchise for 20 years, basically for 20 years.
Yep.
But if you miss on that, but if you miss on that pick, that sets your franchise back at least 5 years. At least 5 years. I could argue 10. It sets your franchise back at least 5 years. And you say that one player doesn't decide a franchise. I disagree with that. A quarterback, it shouldn't, but we all know, and in a perfect world it shouldn't, but we all know that when it comes to football, the quarterback position is the position. It is the position. Yeah, we can sit here and argue about linebacker or offensive lineman or whatever. All those pieces are important. But if you don't have that quarterback, if you don't have that centerpiece, it impacts your franchise. It's a difference why the Jets have been in a constant state of up and down, because we don't have a quarterback. Ask the Browns fans why the Browns have been completely fucking in it. Now, they have other issues. I mean, they make the Buccaneers look like a stand-up organization. I get that. The Browns have way more issues than that. Obviously, they have a, talk about culture change. That whole franchise needs a culture change. But we're not talking about the Browns. But part of their problem is they haven't had a quarterback in years, in decades, really. Mm-hmm. You know, so the important thing is that quarterbacks are very important and that they make or break your franchise. They make or break the perception of your franchise. They make or break the performance of your franchise. They are the important piece. They are the important chess piece on the field. They just are. It is what it is. There's a reason why these guys make $25 million a year, because they are the guys. And to me, I'm not trusting, I would feel very, very iffy about trusting my franchise on Jameis Winston. That's just it. And I get everything you're saying. And again, you are more of an expert on this than I am. That's your team. That's the team you wrote for. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're wrong. I agree. I can see everything that you're saying. What I'm saying is from a person looking at it from afar, I would have a huge problem in trusting the keys of my franchise with Jameis Winston.
That's why I said, like, I'm not one of them that's going to be married to a player no matter what. But, like I said, if the Glazers want to bring in somebody at the high level and say, hey, we need you to run our franchise, and if that guy decides that Jameis Winston is not the guy, I'm cool with it. I'm like, hey, fuck it. Do what you got to do until you find that guy. We're going to have a high-ass pick this year, and if there's a stud quarterback, if fucking, excuse me, Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson, they fall down and they say, you know what, we got a lot of problems with our team, but maybe we can trade Jameis for some picks, and we want to take Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield. I'd be like, all right, do what you got to do. Because I'm anticipating a new regime in Tampa. If all goes well, I think it's just, I don't know, Jason Light has been pretty good, but some of the personnel decisions that just baffle me, like, for one example, and then we can move on. Because this is the longest that anybody has talked about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in history.
For real, nigga. I don't just, jeez.
This is the thing. So you have a Pro Bowl, one of the best offensive guards in Ali Marpet. 2 years running. Great offensive line. Can pull, can pass protect, can run protect. Great. Probably one of the top 5 guards in the league. He was a great guard. They say, let's move you to center. And it's been a fucking disaster of him at center. And I was like, at first I didn't like the idea, and then like I drank the Kool-Aid because like there's a couple Buccaneers podcasts that I listen to. Excuse me. And I was like, maybe this will help out. Put another guy in the guard spot, put Marpet at center. Boom, boom, boom. And it's been a fucking disaster. And that's the thing, like, who is making these personnel decisions that you take a Pro Bowl guy and just move him out of position? You know what I mean? Like dumb shit like that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, like I said, I don't think none of the points you're making are incorrect. I hate to keep going back to the same point, but to me, I think the biggest issue with the Bucks, besides the owners, and unfortunately, like any team in sports, and trust me, I have a team in sports who I'm gonna rant about them later. But ownership, you can't change the owners. Unfortunately, you can't change the owner, and that's the problem. You can't fire owners. You just have to hope and pray that they go the way of Donald Sterling. That something comes up, something happens where they're exposed, they do something controversial, and they can be ousted. But other than that, there's no way to really remove an owner. So
yeah, that's why I think the only way that the franchise can be saved is if they hire a high level executive that's a football mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
that's the only way.
Segueing into that, I know you brought up John Gruden. Do you think John Gruden comes back?
I don't honestly, bro. I don't know how I like think or feel about it because this is the thing. John Gruden did bring us a Super Bowl. Okay, that's the first thing everybody's gonna say. John Gruden did bring a Super Bowl, although low key it was Tony Dungy's defense.
Oh, it's not low key. That was Tony Dungy's team. Now, come on, now that's not low key. That was his team.
The offense, but Gruden did bring us an offense. He did give us like. Keenan McCardell is not a name that somebody's going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy, blah, 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 blah. But Keenan McCardell balled out for us that year. Fucking names like Joe Jurevicius. Like, these niggas were balling because John Gruden had a very good system in place that got guys open who weren't, like, household names. They're not fucking,
And Brad Johnson was solid.
Out there. Yeah, well, fucking Brad Johnson. And, who was our, I don't even remember who our starting running back was that year.
Shit, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't even remember.
It was fucking like Brian Pittman, I think.
I think so.
That's rough for you guys. I think it was Brian Pittman who fucking like beat his wife and shit. Like, but I digress. Like, you know what I'm getting to.
Mm-hmm.
So John Gruden did have a part in bringing that championship to Tampa, even though the defense was totally built by Tony Dungy and Monty Kiffin and da-da-da. So there is a 50-50, 45, 55 type of deal there where it is pretty fairly split down the middle. Now, my thing with John Gruden is that they gave him a lot of personnel decisions, and we ended up having like Brian Griese as our quarterback, and like the defense did fall off, and I think they held on to a couple of guys too long. So it is kind of hard to say, like, was it really John Gruden's fault that we went like 9-6, 9-7 the year that he got fired? And that was deemed as unacceptable. We went 9-7 last year, and everybody fucking celebrated, myself included. So,
the thing on records. It's all based on perception. 8-8 for some teams, it's a failure. 8-8 for some teams, it's greatness. So it's all based on perception.
So I think that they maybe did pull the trigger on firing John Gruden a little bit long because we did trade first round picks for him, so we were kind of behind the eight ball a little bit in regards to actually building talent because we didn't have a lot of talent after those Super Bowl years, so it was kind of rough. We did make the playoffs, and it wasn't very pretty. We got beat by the Giants, but again, the Giants went on to win the Super Bowl that year, I believe. That year that we did, that was the last time that we made the playoffs. Fucking George W. Bush was still in office, but I wouldn't mind Gruden coming back because I know that his teams are always prepared. John Gruden watches a lot of film. He's able to put guys in a position to succeed based off their talent. He can mold his scheme around the guys. You know what I mean? Like, he's a very smart offensive mind. And even though he hasn't coached in, 15 years, 12 years, something like that, he watches film every day. They said this guy wakes up every morning, 6:30, and watches film for a couple hours. And then he's a TV analyst, whatever. So I think he's very much in the mind of football. But the flip side of that, I still think that the public reception, the public outburst of it would, from a public standpoint, mostly to people outside of Tampa, it would look like, hey, your team has struggled for the last decade plus. So, I know, let's go hire the coach that took you to the Super Bowl, and that'll make it all better. That's what it's going to look like from the surface. You know what I mean? All things considered about John Gruden, what I just said about the pluses that he could bring to the team, I fear that the perception behind it is going to look very short-sighted in that aspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't worry. I wouldn't. No, I was going to say I wouldn't. I was going to say I wouldn't worry too much about the perception because, I mean, again, That I like to me if it's if the hire is the smart hire, then make the hire. I don't know. I go back and forth on Gruden. I mean, I think that people tend to look at. I tend to look at Gruden. I think people look at Gruden now with rose-colored glasses now. Like I was never a big John Gruden fan. Like I thought he was a good coach. I thought he was a solid coach, but I never looked at John Gruden like, wow, Bill Parcells, this guy's a legend in the coaching. I thought he was a good coach who lucked out and got an all-time defense and won a Super Bowl. I never looked at John Gruden, and I know it sounds like I'm knocking him. I'm not. Like, I thought he was a good coach. He was a good coach in Oakland, but I don't think, like, I feel like since he's been out of football now for the last decade, like, I feel like people look at him with rose-colored glasses, like, oh, John Gruden was so smart. He was so this, he's so that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do people forget that John Gruden was kind of a middling coach the last few years there? Now, I know a lot of that has to do with talent, not having a quarterback. I get all that. But he was really a middling head coach the last 3 or 4 years of his tenure in Tampa. And he was a guy, and even in Oakland, they had 2 really good years, and then they had a couple years where they were like 9-7, 8-8. So I mean, like, how good is John Gruden? Like, he was a good coach, but I think people like to overstate his greatness, in my opinion. He was a good, and he was a guy that he made a lot of questionable quarterback decisions too. I mean, he was a guy that thought Chris Sims was going to be the guy that light up the world on fire, and that didn't work out. So, to me, I think that people look at him on ESPN, they look at him on Monday Night Football. He does a really good job. The Gruden camp thing with the quarterbacks, that's always entertaining and fun to watch. So I think people look at that and say, wow, this guy, why isn't this guy coaching? Why isn't this guy doing this? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I think he's a good coach, but I don't sit there and look at John Gruden as my savior. That's just the thing I look at with John Gruden. I don't look at him as a savior. I think he's a good coach, and in the right situation, he could be successful. But I don't see a guy like a Bill Parcells, like that instantly comes in and he can change the culture of a franchise.
Up there. I don't think he's like a Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick. Who else could you put in that, elite type level coach? I think he's maybe like a tier below that, which I think is fair. I think that if he would come back to coaching, I think that the obvious fit would be in Tampa. I think that he could help bring a culture change there because he is kind of like a fiery guy.
Yeah, I think he would. I think he definitely would. And I know it sounded like I was bashing him.
No. I 100% agree with what you're saying because I never thought that like Gruden was like. I think he's an innovative coach. I think he has good ideas. He definitely has his flaws, but I don't think that anybody should put him in that upper level of. But
that's the thing. People do though. People do. Like people every year.
Really put? I'm asking honestly. Do people really put him revere him that way?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's some people I've had conversations with football fans throughout the years. Like, oh, we need to hire John Gruden because we'll instantly get. I'm like, really? Like, I just don't. I don't see it that way. I just don't. I don't look at it in that context with John Gruden. Now, and here's another thing. Doesn't even want to come back to coach. I don't think he wants to come back. I think he has a cushy job.
Yeah.
I think he's making a lot of money. You can argue he's having more success at doing what he's doing now than he ever did as a coach.
Yeah, that's true too.
So why would he want to come back and then having the pressure of coming back, resurrecting a franchise? Yeah, exactly. Resurrecting a franchise. Why would you even want to do that? Why would you want to deal with that headache? I think the only way he would come back, I think if he was in a situation where he had a no doubt about it slam dunk quarterback. Like, I felt like if he was in a situation, like, I thought he would have come back to the Raiders when they first drafted Derek Carr, and Derek Carr is as elite as it gets when it comes to quarterbacks, or has the potential to be that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only situation I see where John Gruden will say, okay, well, we have the quarterback in place, like in Indy, when Andrew Luck is healthy, like, okay, we have a quarterback in place, I have something to work with. But I don't know how he feels about Jameis Winston. I mean, I don't know how he feels.
He loves Jameis. He loves Jameis.
Again, you're pinning your hopes on Jameis. That's just me.
You said you don't know how he feels about Jameis, and I'm telling you.
Yeah, no. I know. Just saying. I'm just saying, man. That's a huge risk if you're John Gruden to pin your hopes on Jameis Winston. That's just my personal opinion. But
I think the only way that he'll come back is if someone gives him the keys and they say,
"Oh yeah, he's not coming back unless he's getting full control." Like, he's getting full control. Like, he's gonna be in a Pete Carroll situation where he gets to pick the GM and him and the GM have a symbiotic relationship. Like, that's the only way I see him.
That's what they did for Lovey, and was a fucking dumpster.
And I don't understand why they did that for Lovey, because Lovey's not a coach to me in my eyes that's earned that
Right.
distinction. That's just me.
But again, it goes back to what we said earlier. It's the fucking Glazers.
Yeah, it's the Glazers, and that's
they're marching down the field on y'all.
That's the problem. Yeah, we've had some.
But I mean, I think we've talked enough about the Bucks.
Yeah, we've
probably like, y'all talking all this about a 4-9 team.
Yeah, I know. But I felt like that was in your spirit, man. I felt like you had to get it off your chest, man. And you know what? In part, the podcast is therapeutic like that, man.
Yeah. John Gruden is, like, to wrap it all up, John Gruden is, for better or for worse, whether you like him or you don't, he is a polarizing figure based off name alone and the things that he's done as a coach and as an announcer and an analyst thing, you know. So regardless of wherever he would come back, it's going to be a story. So I still think it's a relevant discussion. God damn, Drew Brees throws like one of the best deep balls that I've ever seen in my life. That's incredible. That was a hell of a touchdown he just threw. Anyway.
Fuck you.
So regardless, there was good coverage on that play too. Like, he just fucking threw a dime. But I mean, you know, wherever John Gruden decides he wants to come back, if he does want to come back, it's going to be a story everywhere. So I still think that it is relevant to football discussion. But I mean, this team ain't going nowhere no time soon. We got a couple key pieces, couple, you know, we got some talented players. But we've seen time and again where coaches have done more with less. And so it really makes you think, like, okay, like, what's the deal here? You know what I mean? Because, I mean, look at the Saints. Last year, everybody was like, Drew Brees is washed up.
Yeah, they wanted Sean Payton out of the building. They wanted him out.
Yeah, they wanted to fucking. There were people that probably would have showed up to pack his bags.
Yeah, probably. It's amazing how the team, the perception of the team changes in 1 year. Amazing. Winning cures everything. Winning cures everything. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because all them stories. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, sorry to bring it back, but this is a good example. Tampa Bay Buccaneers were 9-4 right now instead of 4-9. That story about Jameis Winston and Dirk Cutter not getting along never comes out. Nothing ever.
Oh yeah, you already know how this. You already know how that shit works.
Guaranteed.
You already know how that shit works. Like, you know, it's amazing. It's amazing how none of this shit ever comes to the surface when you're winning. It's amazing. It really is. It's amazing how that happens. So, you know, yeah.
Are the Saints the best team in the NFC? Do you think that they have the best shot?
Well, we can move on to that. I mean, covering who to me, I've never, with the Wentz injury, and we could talk about that. How do you feel about the whole Wentz injury? Does that really affect the Eagles? I think it does. I think the Eagles, I wasn't high on the Eagles because I still was waiting for them to prove it to me before I was going to go gun ho on the Eagles. To me, I was like, Wentz is still a second year quarterback. That's asking a lot of him to come in and basically, you know, win two home playoff games and get to a Super Bowl. I didn't say it was impossible, but I wasn't as high on the Eagles as other people were. Like, I was still kind of in a wait and see mode with them. I wanted to see it before I believed it. Mm-hmm. So, but I think it's a definite hit to the Eagles. You know, and a lot of people were like acting like Nick Foles is like basically Tom Brady as a backup. Like, people forget that Nick Foles, and I like Nick Foles. I think he's a good player, or I think he's a good backup. But I mean, people forget that. Did people not see his tenure in St. Louis or LA now? Like, did people not see that part of his career? Like, it's like they gloss over that.
I forgot all about that, bro.
Like, he was trash in St. Louis. Now, granted, St. Louis had a whole host of other issues, like mainly Jeff Fisher. Yeah. But, you know, it wasn't like they were, you know, it's not like he lit up the world on fire. So I don't know, but I think that definitely opens up the NFC. Like, I think the NFC is wide. This is as wide open I've seen a conference in football in a long time. Like, I can see any one of those 6 playoff teams making it to a Super Bowl.
I think I like the idea. I hate the Saints. Let me preface this by saying I hate the Saints. And I can't stand fucking Drew Brees is a great quarterback, but he can take his Blue Lives Matter fucking shit out of here. But I think the Vikings might have the best shot. Their defense
Case Keenum, though?
Dominant.
Case Keenum? You trust Case Keenum in a big game?
Bruh, I don't. But do you really have to with that defense?
See, that's the thing about that. See,
he's been playing well enough. And I know that the playoffs are.
There's gonna come a point. There's gonna come a point where Case Keenum is gonna have to win him a big time, big game. I'm not talking about a regular season game against Detroit. I'm talking about a big game at home, trailing 17-13 in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left, and he's got to march down the field to get a touchdown against, the Seahawks, for example, whoever, name a team. Do you trust Case Keenum to do that? That's the question mark I have with the Vikings, because I love everything else about the Vikings. Do I trust Case Keenum? That's the question mark. That's the question that you have to answer.
And I think the problem is, though, it is, and I do share that same sentiment. However, we hear the name Case Keenum and we say, oh, it's fucking Case Keenum. But if you put a little context on it and look what he's been able to do, and again, I do have to say that I do understand that the playoffs are a different game. The pressure is much, much, much higher. But he's played well enough throughout the season that you can't.
Oh, he's played great. He's played phenomenal. He's played great.
I think that the one between the two extremes, I think the real answer is somewhere in the middle. Now that can skew one way or the other, but I think that you have to take into consideration the way that he's played this year. I think that gives him just a little bit of like maybe instead of just saying
right,
it's fucking Case Keenum. Fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel you.
I don't know. I think it's, if their running game was maybe a little bit better, I would feel a little bit more at ease about it. But they have probably the best. I mean, I think you really is not saying out on a limb. They have the best defense in football.
Oh I think they're better than the Eagles defense. I think they have the best.
Think so too.
I think they have the best defense in the NFL right now. Absolutely. So yeah. I'll preface this by saying this. I've always been a fan of Case Keenum. I've always thought that Case Keenum in the right situation on the right team, I think Case Keenum could be a productive quarterback. I always felt this, even when he was in Houston. I never understood why he didn't stick in Houston. In Houston, he was a Houston kid, a guy that in short flashes, in times that he played, he showed flashes of brilliance. It's just, he just, for whatever reason, inconsistency or lack of coaching or lack of stability and structure, he just never really had a lot of long-term success. But I've always been a Case Keenum guy. But I think it is a little unfair to say that Case Keenum is going to go in, win two home playoff games and get to a Super Bowl. To say that with conviction, like it's going to be done, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I don't know that. I don't know that.
Y'all just caught a big ass break.
Yeah, we did. That's saying a lot. I don't know.
Just to like I said, devil's advocate a little bit. Like, do we trust the Saints defense down the stretch? You know what I mean? Like, their offense is obviously fucking dominant with the addition of Alvin Kamara, but like their defense has been okay. But like I didn't like. It depends on your philosophy.
Their defense. I trust their defense enough because I think they have a playmaking defense. Like, I love defenses that create turnovers, that create havoc. Like there's two different types of defense. You have like your rugged, physical, just controls the tempo of the game type of defense. And then you have those defenses that may not, that bend a little, but don't break and then create turnovers. Like, I love defenses that create havoc, that create turnovers. And the one thing the Saints have is they have a very good secondary, a young, athletic secondary that creates turnovers. And that's what I like about the Saints. Again, the Saints defense is always something you're going to be like, geez, do I really trust them? So I get what you're saying. I mean, again, this is what makes the NFC so wide open. The NFC is completely wide open right now. Like, if you told me, like, if we had an argument right now, you told me that you thought the Carolina Panthers had a chance to make the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't disagree with you. If you told me right now, if you told me right now the Seahawks, if they beat the Rams today and win that division, the Seahawks have a chance, I would be a little bit more skeptical on the Seahawks because I think they're missing so much on the defense. But even then, I wouldn't even be that skeptical because I would be like, the NFC is wide open.
How do you feel about the Rams?
I've treated the Rams almost like I treated the Eagles. Like, I've just kind of been in wait and see mode. I gotta wait and see. I'm not totally buying. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with what I've seen. I've liked what I've seen. I've been more impressed with the Rams than I've been with the Eagles because I feel like the Eagles have been product of a schedule that's been really, really, really suspect. Like, if you look at the Eagles schedule, they really haven't played anybody. Like, if you break down the Eagles schedule, they really have not played anybody of any real substance. Outside of me, I mean, I know the NFC East but the NFC East is not that great. Outside of the Cowboys.
No, the NFC East is not what it used to be.
It's not what it used to be. The Giants are,
what, 2 wins wins.
The Giants are fucking trash. The fucking Cowboys are a talented team, but they've been unachieving for most part of the year. And then the Redskins are the Redskins. I mean, they're up, they're down, they're up, they're down, they're down, they're up. So the Redskins are the Redskins. The Redskins are a middling team. Yep. So I don't think the NFC is that great. Then they've played the Bears, they've played this team, they've played that. So I haven't been that impressed with the Eagles. Honestly, like I know they were 11-1 and everybody was all gun ho, Eagles, yay. And I love Carson Wentz, and I absolutely love Carson Wentz. I think he's a stud. But I just, that schedule to me is like, you know, they're a little bit like Wisconsin to me in college football. How really good are they? Because they've had a really easy schedule, so I don't know how to really grade them. That being said, you know, I think the Eagles and the Rams, I put them in kind of in the same books, in the same kind of book. Like I think that
the Eagles and Rams game, it was a really good game, and I think the Rams, this is the thing, actually I really like the Rams watching them play. Like I've kind of, like, not like taken a liking to them, but I like the progression that Jared Goff has shown. And Todd Gurley is one of my favorite players in the league. Like, I love that fucking kid. So I'll like check them out when they're on TV or whatever. And I think the thing that's going to hold them back the most is that their coach is so young. But they do have Wade Phillips coaching the defense, so that does.
And I like that coach, by the way. I like that coach.
I think that they're a perfect situation.
He reminds me of Tomlin when Tomlin first started. He just has that aura and that presence. Even for a young guy, he has that. I think the Rams hit a home run with that hire.
He reminds me a little bit of fucking John Gruden.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like a fiery guy. He's got an innovative offense. He's young, like. And I think, like, his dad is, like, friends with Gruden or some shit like that. So, you know, there's that type of thing. But philosophy-wise, he does remind me of it. But he does remind me of Tomlin a little bit, too, where he's a young guy, comes in, has, like, the aura. The players really respect him, and they like him, and he's out there having fun with his players. And I was very skeptical of that hire to begin with. I was like, bro, this nigga's younger than me. You know what I mean? But if you can coach, you can coach.
I was skeptical of it too. I'll be honest. I was skeptical of it too. But yeah, like you said, if you can coach, you can coach.
I'm happy to be.
And I've been impressed with what I've seen from him. I really have.
I'm tired of seeing the same coaching carousel in the NFL. I'm tired of it. I think there needs to be there needs to be new blood, and that's that. Like I think that's a good thing for the league. You know what I mean? Like, we need to see some of that moving forward. Now, I don't think that's going to be the norm. But it's a nice outlier. But I think that against the Eagles, they went away from running.
What the fuck kind of play was that? My bad. Go ahead.
That was a bad play.
What was that? Run the fucking football. My bad. Go ahead. Continue. My bad.
Y'all need another running back.
No, it's not the running back. It's the play calling. That play caller was stupid. Why would you roll him out all the way to the fucking...
They were trying to run the ball with Matt Forte. Like, washed.
Matt Forte's still effective. Run the fucking football. It's 3rd and 3. Get 3 yards, damn it. God damn.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's 3 yards.
Go ahead.
I feel you. But, no, so I actually, for the NFC, like, I think the Rams will be a nice story. I just don't know if they're ready yet.
Yeah, they might not be ready for prime time. They might not be ready, but I think
next year they're going to be a force, and they're still a force now. That defense was good. Jeff Fisher's a terrible fucking coach.
You don't say.
But I think I don't know. I would like to see them, but the Vikings defense is so dominant that I think it's going to be one of those 3 teams in the NFC Championship. Well, I don't even know. Like the Eagles, it's hard to count the Eagles out too. Even
to me, you're asking a lot of Nick Foles to say.
You're asking a lot.
Because if I'm going to have the same question marks about Case Keenum, then I have to have the same question marks about Nick Foles. Like,
I guess we have to have him about Jared Goff too.
Oh, but Jared Goff because of youth. Yeah, youth. Yeah. I mean, to me, I think the NFC is wide. The NFC is wide open, man. I mean, it's just wide the fuck open. Like, you could even make the case for as inconsistent as the Falcons have been, and I still don't trust that team in a big spot. I do not, for the life of, I would never, in a clutch situation where the game is on the line, I would never trust that team, because that team to me still has no heart. But that being said, you could make the case for the Falcons making it back to the Super Bowl. I mean, the NFC is that wide open. It's that wide open. So the AFC is a little bit more settled because to me, it's going to be it's either going to be Pittsburgh or New England. I'll give Kansas City a small shot because it looks like they've righted the ship a little bit. But even then, You know, the thing that hurts Kansas City, if you really wanted to pick Kansas City in the AFC, is that how much damage did this 6-game losing streak or the 5-game losing streak hurt them? Like how much, like they went from being a top seed to being a 4th seed. So that's going to hurt them eventually. Like you had basically 2 guaranteed home playoff games, and now you're going to maybe have 1, and that's it. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that hurt to me Kansas City's chances of making it to the Super Bowl. And their defense is not as good as it used to be. But to me, I think in the AFC it's going to come down to New England and Pittsburgh. And that's what it's going to come down to, you know.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't trust anyone else in the AFC really. I mean, like you said, about the Chiefs, and I don't think I really trust Alex Smith. Like I think he's solid, but I don't trust. Alex Smith is not the quarterback that's going to win or lose you a game.
Oh, I can make the case he's going to lose you a game by I can make it more of a case that he's going to lose you a game than win you a game, but I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to, like...
Yeah. But I like Alex Smith, though. I like Alex Smith.
Me and you, remember when he got drafted out of Utah, me and you both were like, yo, this kid can ball. Like, you just put him in the right system. And I think he was mismanaged for a couple of years. Like,
I'd say he was mismanaged for about a good 7 years.
Yeah. Like, just a revolving door of coaches and things like that. You know what I mean? But Andy Reid, you know, he's pretty much the quarterback whisperer.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much of a quarterback whisperer he is with Mahomes, because they got a hard on from Mahomes, and I just don't see it.
Bro, I like Mahomes.
I don't trust. This is my issue with Baker Mayfield going in the top of the draft or going in how people project him to be in the top 15 picks or so. I don't trust Big 12 quarterbacks. I've said it for years. I'll continue to say it. I don't trust quarterbacks that play in that conference. That's just me. I know it's fucked up to say. I know, but we have more evidence than not that quarterbacks that come from that conference are just not that good. In my opinion, in my belief system, they're not that good. RG3, Sam Bradford, although Sam Bradford might be the best one to come out of that conference. You know, even Sam Bradford's had a middling career. You know,
I think Sam Bradford's issue is
injuries than it is play. But I mean, even then.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't trust quarterbacks in that. I just don't trust quarterbacks in that.
I think there has
conference.
to be like
this guy went to Texas Tech. This guy went to Texas Tech. I can never pronounce his fucking name. Say it 5 times. Cliff Kingsbury's offense. Like Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the guy, and I know he's got all the physical tools that makes guys get fucking hard-ons. I get that. I get all that. I'm not sold on him.
I don't know. I think there has to be a level of distinction between where they play. Because look at Carson Wentz, man. This nigga played at fucking what?
But he played a pro-style offense is what I'm saying. He ran a pro-style offense in North Dakota State. Against inferior competition. But he still ran a base NFL offense. The problem with these guys is they run these one read spread offenses where you're not asked to read defenses. You're not asked to fucking go through progressions. And then you expect these guys to come in the NFL and just get it. And some guys get it and some guys never do. Like they never do because they've never fucking played quarterback with that kind of responsibility ever in their lives. Some of these kids played spread their whole entire lives.
Yeah.
Like they've never even been under center.
And it also depends on the coaching situation too, because if you have a Josh McDaniels or an Andy Reid or Sean Payton, somebody that will look at the talent that they have and they say, okay, this is what we can do in order to help this. Look at what Sean McVay is doing.
Yeah.
Look at where Jared Goff go to college.
Cal.
Yeah. Cal's, I mean, it's the Pac-12. Like, we've had some guys come out of there, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's all subjective.
Yeah, it's subjective, and I know it sounds fucked up to say, like, oh, guys that play in this conference are...
I personally
like Baker Mayfield. I don't know. He's small. To me, he's too much. To me, he's Manziel-ish. He's too Manziel-ish for me. I don't.
No. Look, Manziel. If it wasn't for Mike Evans, Manziel would not have done the shit that he was able to do.
I guess. I mean, you can say that. You can say that.
A lot of Johnny Manziel was him rolling out of the pocket and throwing it up. But we've seen Baker Mayfield march his team down and make ballsy throws. Like, throw darts. Johnny Manziel was throwing up ducks.
He was. I'm not going to...
Baker is more of a gamer, and I think that he has a better arm.
He does have a better arm than Manziel.
He is small,
but I just think I don't know. I just don't trust that offense or that I don't know. There's just something about quarterbacks that play in that conference that I just have reservations about. That's just me. If I was a GM...
Oklahoma doesn't run like, I mean, in Oklahoma, I'm not like fucking pitching back because there's never been a good fucking quarterback come out of Oklahoma. But they don't run like a full on.
Troy Aikman, if you want to be technical, Troy Aikman did start at Oklahoma first, but he did come of age in UCLA, but whatever.
Right. So I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, I think you gotta have to look at the guy. You know what I mean? But back to Patrick Mahomes, like, I like Patrick Mahomes. I think that he's not ready yet.
Oh, he's not ready yet.
He's definitely not ready. He needs like another year or two. But I think he's in a situation with Andy Reid and the playmakers that they have on that offense. You got Travis Kelce. You have Tyreek Hill. What's the other guy's fucking name? I can't think.
The other receiver?
You have Kareem Hunt, and there's another receiver that they have that's like Tyreek Hill. Small, fucking, fast, and strong.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot the name of the dude.
You know, so you have, like, those type of players. And Mahomes, if there's one thing that he can do, he can fucking sling the football. So, I think that that's a good situation for him if he's able to learn. But the mental aspect is a big thing because you are asked to read defenses, and the defenses move faster than they have in college. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it is a thing. And it's tough to look at quarterbacks because we've seen guys light it the fuck up in college, and they're like, oh, it's a pro-style offense, and there's no reason why this guy shouldn't be a fucking stud, and he's fucking garbage.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, basically the pro-style offense is the end-all, be-all. I mean, we've seen guys... No. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Absolutely.
There's a level of ambiguity, I mean, that it's tough to say, like, whether or not. But I think, like, some of Baker Mayfield's, like, intangibles, I think that they can benefit him at the next level. I think he's going to go to a team. He's probably going to go to, you know, he's obviously going to go to a not-so-great team. But, I mean... Would you like it if he went to the Jets? Let me ask you that.
I like Baker Mayfield. I just don't know how good is he going to be. I mean, if I'm the Jets, I mean, I'm almost at a point where, like, why not? I mean, why not take a risk? I mean, what really do you have? You know, if the option is Baker Mayfield or Josh McCown, like, take a chance on Baker Mayfield. You might hit a home run there. You know what I'm saying? I'm almost at that point. But if I was a GM, like, for instance, like, if I was a GM, forget Rosen and Darnold for a second. I believe Darnold's going to go back to school, by the way. That's just me. But if
stay away from the Browns.
Yeah, and the Giants, shit. I mean,
and the Giants. I was literally getting ready to say
I think Darnold's smart enough to know, like, why would I come out this year where I'm going to be compared to thousands of quarterbacks when I can come out next year with a quarterback class is not as fucking deep, and I could be the big fish in a small pond. That's what I think. But here's the thing: if I'm a GM, if I'm choosing between, let's say, Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, I got to go with Lamar Jackson.
I would too.
That's just me. Because even though I don't like run first quarterbacks and I don't like guys that play the type of way that Lamar Jackson plays, I'm going to bet more on potential and upside with Lamar Jackson and his athleticism. And if he ever figures out how to play from the pocket, and he has made the transition, I've been impressed with Lamar Jackson because I saw him last year and I was like, damn, I don't know how this guy's going to make the transition. And this year he has transitioned his game a little bit better. So I will say that he's played a little bit better from the pocket. He's been able to go through a little bit more progressions. So I would bet more on Lamar Jackson than I would Baker Mayfield. But I mean, it's an interesting discussion that we're going to have as we get to draft time and whatnot. Yeah. I really believe that. But if I had to put a gun, going back to our original conversation, if I had to put a gun to your head right now, like life on the line, and you had to pick a Super Bowl team out of the NFC, and I know it's early to do Super Bowl predictions, but this is just right now. If we're just looking at everything out as is today, if you had to pick a team right now, who are you picking for your Super Bowl team in the NFC? Vikings?
Yep.
I mean, again,
I think that defense. I think. If I had, like you said, a choice right now, I think that defense is too dominant for me to ignore compared to the other teams. I think if I had to make a quick plus minus with the other teams, I think that the dominance of their defense will help mask the deficiencies of the offense. And I think that their defense is that good that it will help versus the pros and cons of the other teams in the NFC. What do you think?
That's the thing. I mean, I'm struggling, man. I'm just like man. I'm just
right now. Hammers back. Pick now.
I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm gonna go with the Saints.
It's any of three teams. If you would have said the Vikings, Saints, or Rams, or Eagles, was really the injury does put them in a little bit of a paradoxical situation. But I still think that team, the defense is pretty good, and I don't think they're going to have to run the ball better than they have been.
Well, they've been running the football better this year. I mean, if anything, that's the one thing that's surprised me is the way they've been able to run the ball with Ingram. Like, the reason I picked the Saints is because...
No, I meant the Eagles. But
okay, yeah.
Saints. Definitely with Kamara and Ingram.
Yeah, that's the reason. That's the reason I'm going with the Saints. I think the Saints can score. Obviously, their offense is great, but I think they have an offense now for the first time that travels on the road. Like that, they can run the football. Yeah. They have a playmaking defense. I know their defense is always a little suspect, but I think they can make enough plays where I think that they can be dangerous on the road. And not to mention, they just have the quarterback. I trust Drew Brees more than I trust Nick Foles. I trust Drew Brees more than I trust Case Keenum or Teddy Bridgewater. I trust Drew Brees more than I even trust Cam Newton. I'll be honest. I like Carolina's defense. I just don't love their offense. I think the problem with Carolina is they can't score.
I think they reached on Christian McCaffrey.
I think McCaffrey's good. I think McCaffrey's good.
I say it reaches the aspect. I don't think that he's a good fit for that team.
They don't know how to use him. That's the problem. If Christian McCaffrey would have went to the Saints, or he'd be Kamara right now. Like he'd be Kamara.
I think Kamara's better.
Kamara's better, but I think he'd be a Kamara light. That's what I'm saying. Like if he'd have gone to New England, if he'd gone to New Orleans, if he'd gone to Pittsburgh, like they'd figure out a way to use him better. But I think Carolina just doesn't know how to use him, so that's the problem. But I think he's been good for them. For as much as they've been inept at how to use him in the right situations, like I think he's been pretty decent for them. I just don't trust Carolina's offense. Their offense, Greg Olsen, I don't
trust Ron Rivera either.
I like Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera gets a lot of heat. I mean, the guy's consistent. He's consistent. I mean, is he a ball of laughs and a spark of fire? No. Is he kind of boring and bland and generic and milquetoast? Yeah. But I like him. I mean, he's a good coach. You know, he's not great, but he's a good coach and he's consistent. And that team plays hard. That team is consistent every year, outside of maybe 1 or 2 years here and there. That team is consistent year in and year out. So I like Ron Rivera. I think people rag on him too much. I like Ron Rivera.
Hey, did we talk about Marvin Lewis yet?
No, we can talk about it real quick.
As a coach, he's the black Jeff Fisher, but I think he's good at evaluating. That's my opinion.
Marvin, I've gone back and forth with Marvin Lewis. I think he should have been fired years ago, me personally, because I think you can't have the level. Like, to me, he's held that franchise back, in my opinion. Like, that team is, like, I know people like to drag on Andy Dalton, and I almost come off as the Andy Dalton defender. In a lot of ways, on this podcast, on Twitter.
I'm tired of that shit.
Is Andy Dalton Tom Brady? No. But is Andy Dalton the worst fucking quarterback ever? No. Like, you hear people say, like, Andy Dalton is the worst quarterback ever. Oh my God. How does Andy Dalton do this? Like, Andy Dalton is not that bad. He's a solid quarterback. Like again, I'm not saying Andy Dalton is Tom Brady. I'm not saying Andy Dalton is Jared Goff. I'm not saying any of that. But is Andy Dalton terrible?
He's not fucking TJ. He's not TJ Yates.
No, he's not TJ Yates. I mean, he's not TJ Yates. He's not Matt Schaub. Like, he's a solid quarterback. Like, if you put Andy Dalton's the type of quarterback, you put him in the right situation. That is coaching, talent around him. Andy Dalton is a competent quarterback. He can win you 10, 11 games. Now, can Andy Dalton win you a Super Bowl? If you put him where?
On your Jets team right now, they have a winning record.
Yeah. I mean, what? We're 5-8 right now. So yeah, I mean, would we be better than that?
Probably flip that record around, honestly.
Yeah. At the very least, we'd be a 500 team.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I understand all of the flaws in Andy Dalton's game. I get all that, but I almost come off as his defender because I feel like some people go overboard with killing Andy Dalton. Like, he's not that bad. I mean, he's a solid quarterback.
The Giants about to come back and beat the Eagles, I will laugh hysterically. My bad.
Yeah, I would laugh hysterically too. That being said,
but I think with Marvin Lewis, I think he should have left a long time ago, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago at the most. And I think he could have gone somewhere else and been a quality coach somewhere else. Like, after a while, the rivers run dry. I never looked at Marvin Lewis as a head coach. I've always thought he was a great coordinator. He was one of those guys that was a better coordinator than he was a coach. I've always looked at Marvin Lewis that way. Fair. I think he's held that team back because that team's got talent. We've already professed our
not love, but are defending of Andy Dalton. They got AJ Green. They've had a decent defensive line, although I think their defensive line is overrated. They have a pretty good enough defense, anyway, that team is not that bad. And that team should not be as inept and as inconsistent as they constantly are. And I just think that team just needs a coaching change. And sometimes, you know what? Just the voice gets old. I mean, Marvin Lewis has been there, 15 years or so, like that, something like that?
Yep.
Sometimes it's just time for a new. Sometimes it's just time for a new change, for a new voice.
That you bring in, sometimes that doesn't work. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think you're absolutely right. Like, it has to be like, it has to be a mixture of things. Like, but I think that he's a good coach. I think that he's done a really good job. Like, if you think of some of the names on that team, like talent wise, like. He took a gamble on a lot of guys, and they turned out to be really good football players. So I think that he might be able to move on.
I don't think he gets another head coaching job. I mean, maybe he'll be a retread candidate somewhere. I think
he's going to have to do another year or two as a defensive coordinator.
I think he's a tremendous defensive mind. I've always been high on him as a defensive mind because to me, I think that I've always thought that defense has been overrated. And that's a credit to Marvin Lewis. I've always felt like that defense has been overrated because I feel like that's how good he is. That's how good he is as a defensive schemer and a mindset and a mind on the defensive side of football that I think he's been able to get more out of that defense than I think that how truly talented that defense really is. So if I had to say something nice about Marvin Lewis, I'll say that I think he's a tremendous defensive mind. But I mean, the one thing I don't want to hear is that Marvin Lewis got a raw deal or that he got screwed or whatever. No, Marvin Lewis has been there 15 years, countless playoff exits. He's been there 15. So I'm probably wrong on the time. I know he's been there more than 10 years, more than 12 years. And it's like they've constantly underachieved. They haven't won a playoff game. They haven't won a playoff game in forever. Like, it's time for a change. So I don't want to hear that, Marvin Lewis got the raw deal. He got screwed. No, that's not fair. He's gotten enough. If anything, I can make the case that Marvin Lewis should have been fired 5 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, 2015, he went 12-4 and they lost.
And that was the year Andy Dalton got hurt.
Yeah. 2014. They went 10-5, lost to the Colts in the wild card. Like, they haven't been out of the first year of the playoffs. Like, you can't. Like, that's not sustainable.
And I think the game that did it for them this year was the Steelers game on Monday Night Football. Mm-hmm. I think that was the game that really kind of just like, this guy has to go. Like, it's time. It's time. Like, and again, I like Marvin Lewis as a defensive coach. I think he's a hell of a coordinator. I think any team that brings him on to their staff, their defense instantly upgrades. Like, just instantly becomes a great defense.
I would.
But I just think his time as a coach has just passed. He's been there for, almost, I think he's on, when did he become the Bengals coach? Like 2002, something like that? Like, dog, it's like 2002, 2003?
Their Wikipedia. He's been the head coach there since 2003.
Okay, yeah, that's that was like what? That's 13, 14 years right there. He's been there a long time. That's a long time. And it's not like he's won a Super Bowl there. So it's not like they owed him anything to keep him there that long. You talk about bad owners. I mean, there's no worse owners, maybe other than Hazlitt in the league than fucking, Mike Brown and the fucking Bengals ownership. But, he's
the black Jeff Fisher, like I said, man.
I would say he's had more success recently than Jeff Fisher. So yeah.
Hey, Jeff Fisher got to an AFC Championship game.
He got to a Super Bowl.
Or a Super Bowl, I mean.
Should have won. You can make the case. Should have won it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Let's talk. Have you heard about this Jerry Richardson shit?
That's the Panthers owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that shit. That shit don't surprise me, bro.
I tweeted on Twitter the other day. I was like,
if you are rich and a man, chances are you are wilding the fuck out places you're not supposed to.
Dog, I tweeted instantly as soon as this news broke. Well, I tweeted this on Thursday when the whole ESPN thing came out about the workplace thing and the Boston Globe article reporting, kind of just widespread sexual misconduct at ESPN. Mm-hmm. I tweeted, and here it begins. That's all I said, and it begins. And it begins. Because it's only a matter of time before the whole, whatever you want to call it, women's enlightenment, revolution, whatever you want to talk. And I have my own issues on that and my own comments on that. I'm not going to get into that because I don't feel like getting into a big, deep social commentary discussion on that. But if it's happening,
shout out to them women speaking up. That's all I care about, because the shit is wrong. And if somebody's doing something wrong, I don't think that you should fear for your job.
Absolutely.
Your safety speaking up against something that's wrong.
I want to preface this by saying I have 2 daughters. And I don't even know how I would even react. I don't even know what places my mind would take me if this ever happened to one of my daughters. I was raised by women. I grew up around women. I have women that are my best friends in this world. So if anybody is, not to sound like Donald Trump, but is anybody more sensitive to women and understands women, I like to think it's me, or I have a good understanding of women. I'll say that, not to sound too arrogant and cocky. Like, I have a good understanding of women and what they go through, and I respect and love women. My wife, my mother, my daughters included. My only issue with this whole thing is I feel like these cases, these claims should be vetted. I feel like we should have an open discussion and a conversation, because I've said it on Twitter. I'm like, what's stopping any woman with a grudge or a vendetta from accusing anybody of sexual misconduct? Like, yeah, I've been young. I was at one point in my life young and dumb and drank and did stupid shit in the club or in bars and, did things that I probably shouldn't have done or acted in ways that I probably shouldn't have done. Does that speak of me as a person, or does that speak of just youth and inexperience? And I'm not, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm the typical guy trying to defend guys. I'm not, because I feel like if you're a shitbag and a dirtball and you did some of these fucking perverted things that like Louis C.K. or Harvey Weinstein have been accused of fucking doing, I feel like you should be thrown under the jail. I feel like you should be fucking, it's a scorched earth policy on you. But I feel like these claims should be vetted.
Like the vetting, like you said, it shouldn't be a witch hunt where accusal guilty.
That's what it feels, and that's the part, and that's what it feels like to me. And it pisses me off because we live in this kind of overly politically correct society where it's, if you come with a take that's opposite of the kind of the general scope, everybody thinks you're sexist. Like, I'm not sexist. I'm just saying we should be able to vet these claims. The problem I have is these women wait 15 years. Oh, he touched me in 1994. Like, that was 23 years ago. Like, in 23 years, this never came up in a discussion. This never came up in a conversation. And I get it. Some men are horrible fucking individuals. I've seen it with situations where women have been dealt with in terrible situations where things like these have been used against them to keep them from getting promotions or getting jobs or blah, 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 da, 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 fear of reciprocation. I get all of that. And I understand that is something that definitely plays a part in this. But I think there should be I think we should be able to act as a society. Hey, like the whole Al Franken situation. This shit happened in 2006. This man ran for Senate in 2008, got reelected, and never one time this thing came up. Like in basically in 11 years, this never came up. This never was a topic of discussion. None of his opponents ever was able to track down this woman and say what happened and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's the thing that just, I don't feel like that is fair, that we should just be able to just, yep. You know what? You touched a girl inappropriate, you're done, you're fired, you're gone, you're out, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. No vetting process, no investigation, nothing.
He ran for office under the precedent that this shit didn't happen. And the shit that he did is not cool. So
it's not cool. And I'm not defending Al Franken.
But that's not something or someone that should be representing the people in a district or a state or things like that. I just don't think that that's conduct for anybody to be in any type of leadership position. And honestly, the fact of the matter is like, yeah, it did take a long time for it to come out, but who's to say that these things, somebody reported it to somebody and it never got to, and you're right. And that's, we've seen instances. So I do think that you're right, that there'd be a vetting process for it. But I do think that there is a precedent of women's voices not being heard. And now that's kind of, the wheels are starting to shift on that a little bit. And I think it's a good thing, because if you are a scumbag, and man or woman, if you're a scumbag, I think that you deserve what's fucking coming to you.
Absolutely.
What I mean?
Absolutely.
I think it's as simple as that. But there should be some sort of vetting process, and this person did this to me, or this person did that to me. There should be some sort of looking process, but there's a little bit of a culture of a witch hunt. But honestly, I think that in a way that's better than doing nothing.
I completely agree with you. And I've had this conversation like with my wife, and I always like to get the woman's perspective because you know, it's easy for men to have this conversation because I don't understand what women go through. I've never had anybody like just grab my ass and just say, you know, come here, watch me jerk off or anything. No homo. Like I've never had that happen to me. I've never been in that situation. I've never been in that. I don't have the experience to say I know what that's like. I've just never been in that. So it's hard for me and you to have this conversation without the perspective of a woman. So I do try to talk to my wife. I try to talk to my sister and try to get their expertise. And it's funny. A lot of women kind of feel the same way that I do. Like, you know, I see both sides of it. As a woman, I get it and I understand it. And I get that men are assholes. My wife has told me, like, yeah, men are assholes. And men do this shit all the time, especially men with power. But I also know women, and I also know that women are vindictive and are whatever. So it's like you can't just simply say, oh, all these women are right, all these men are assholes, and blah blah blah. Now, like in certain situations, Kevin Spacey admitted it. He's a shitbag. Like Harvey Weinstein. I mean, he had 30 years of just fucking, you know, just documented stuff.
It was widely well known. Like Michelle
within the industry, it's well known. Yeah,
it was wildly well known, like throughout the town, that he was scumbag.
No, here's the only thing with that, right? Like, I hate, like, now that it's come out, now all people in Hollywood are saying, yeah, Harvey Weinstein was a piece of shit. We all knew that. Like, no, if you didn't come out and say this shit for 30 years, don't jump on the bandwagon now and be like, oh, like, even my man, John Barenthal, who I love as Punisher or whatever, like, he came out, oh, Kevin Spacey was hard to work with on set, blah, 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 not a surprise. Like, dude, like, before this ever came out, you would have never said that. You would have never said that. Like, that's my problem. Like, don't jump on the bandwagon now and try to rip the guy when he's on a. And again, I'm not sympathizing with Kevin Spacey.
A lot of it too is like context of it. Like, if you were to come out and say like there's like an instance like Courtney Love, like years and years and years ago. Like, she was on the camera like at the MTV Awards or something like that. She was like, "Don't go to parties at Harvey Weinstein's house." Like, just kind of said it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like a contextual aspect of it, because if you were to stand in front of the cameras, people are like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? You know what I mean?
And it's also the messenger, too. It's also the messenger, too.
Right, yeah. And that's probably all other discussion that we could have. But, like, and I don't think this is gonna, I think sports are such a weird realm that, like, what can you realistically do to the owner of a team? Like, could you Donald Sterling his ass and be like, okay, sell your team?
Well, I think you can. I mean, I think if this is something, well, I don't know if you've been on.
Ownership is so much different than basketball ownership. Like, I think it's a unique situation. Like, if he was doing that shit, then. But the thing is, like, what's it gonna? I don't want to say this like, don't do anything, but like, what realistically can you do? Because if you make him sell his team, he's still going to be filthy fucking rich.
Yeah, I mean, it's
you feel me? Like,
yeah, like even Donald Sterling, for as much vitriol and hate that he still got $3 billion for selling the fucking for selling the Clippers. The Clippers, a middling NBA franchise, $3 billion. Like, yeah, like so I get it. It's still like you win either way, even though when people think you lose, you win. It's like one of those things.
Where's the punishment?
Exactly.
Is what I really want to say.
I would say, and people who would say, who are opposite end of this would say, well, the punishment is that your name, your reputation gets a hit. And the court of public opinion is your biggest, you know, pain. You feel the biggest pain there in the court of public opinion, because now it's a scorched earth policy with you. Now everybody hates you. Now everybody thinks you're a piece of shit. But you're still rich. So it's like basically like, what's that? My bad.
Like, I think it would affect the player much more than like an owner.
You're right. You're right.
You know what I mean? But I don't know. We've seen in this country that if you're rich, like, shit don't happen to you, man. Like, that's basically what happens. Like, if you got money, the consequences are minimal.
And we'll center this back to Jerry Richardson, because I don't know if you've been on Bleacher Report today or as a lot today, but now there's been a report that Jerry Richardson gave hush money to people to keep this shit kind of under wraps. So this shit is,
that's a felony.
And also now the NFL is taking over the investigation. So, I mean, this shit more and more, I mean, he gave employee payouts after his sexual and racial remarks. So,
yeah, see, that's,
so these are things, so this story is evolving by the day. And so, but I mean, to bring up your old point, I mean, and we talked about Al Franken, and we talked about all these celebrities and all these individuals and all these folks. And again, I want to preface this by saying, if you in any way inappropriately, unwarrantedly touch a woman, you are a scumbag. I'm not defending these men. I'm not defending these individuals. My only preface is it should not just be an open and shut case. Yep. Touched a woman, right. You're done. Like, we should have a vetting process. We should investigate. We should get all the facts on the table. And when everything has been proven and we have a good, credible information and basis that we can go off, then we make a determination. Yep, this guy's a scumbag. This guy's this guy's that. This guy's this, blah, 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 blah. Until then, I feel like it's basically her word versus everybody, or his word versus her word, basically. And that's all it is. And I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, it's a lot of punishment. It's like, oh man, we've ignored this problem for decades. Let's fix it. And that's not the way to fix it. Exactly.
And here's my thing though. Here's my thing though too. And why I was so pissed off at Al Franken. I'm not pissed off that Al Franken resigned because I feel like he did some bad things. And as much as I love his politics and I love Al Franken as a comedian, if he did these things, he's wrong. He's wrong. And he should not represent the Senate. But here's my problem with this society. Be consistent. Donald Trump should resign. And if I was Al Franken, I would have said, you know what? I'm not resigning until I'll resign. I have no problems quitting the Senate. I'll quit when Donald Trump quits. Yeah, when Donald Trump resigns office, I will resign because that's not fair. That's not fair. I get hung out to dry. I get sacrificed and thrown to the wolves, and Donald Trump can still be president? Yep. This man has 19 accusations. 19. And I know, and if you take it by my opinion and my perspective, we should vet all these. And let's say you vet them and 8 of them are actually legit. That's still 8 too many for a president.
Yeah, that's 8 too many for anybody.
Shit, even if you vet all of them and one of them is accurate, that's still one.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
My feel is very simple. Like, and that's a great point that you brought up. Like, okay, I'm not resigning until Donald Trump is, but the problem, and this is like a microcosm of politics in this country, is that the Democrats feel like they're so much better than the Republicans that they won't get their fucking hands dirty. And that shit's not doing no good. Like when Michelle Obama says, oh, we go higher. No, dog. Fight fucking fire.
Exactly. And Bill Maher has said it. And Bill Maher has said that for years. The problem with the Democrats is that we bring knives while Republicans are bringing guns.
Yep.
And they don't give a fuck. They'll get down and dirty. They'll get into the mud. They'll do anything to win a fucking election. Even suppress fucking African American votes. Like we've seen that. Yep. They nothing that the Republicans do surprise me. So like, because but you know what? In a lot of ways, in a weird way, I respect them because they don't give a fuck. They know, hey, this is a war. It's a war going on outside. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. And they will make any issue, they will politicize any issue, they will make anything that make their point even stronger. They will go out there and do it because it's about winning votes and winning election and pushing your agendas. That's what it is. Yep. And the Democrats want to go this holier than thou, we're higher than this, even though Democrats do crooked shit all the time, like fucking, like fucking rigging the shit against my man Bernie. Like, so Democrats talk out of their ass too, and they take corporate money, just Cory Booker, they take corporate money from Wall Street just as much as, like, so.
Cory Booker's getting paid by pharmaceutical companies and tech companies because those are all his buddies that he graduated Stanford with.
Exactly. And I like Cory Booker, but I mean, I like you too. Like, you gotta be real. You gotta be real.
Stop pointing the finger when you are guilty of the same or
they all do the same shit. They all do the same shit.
Yeah, they all do. They're fucking different. They're different hands of the same body.
Exactly. But the problem is the way both parties try to react. Like Republicans don't give a fuck. They long ago decided, hey, we're going to fucking try to win elections. We're going to do whatever it fucking takes to win elections. And it doesn't matter if we got to get down in the dirty. It doesn't matter if we got to do fucking shitty shadow politics. We got to do fucking dog whistle politics where we bring up race in a not so subtle way. Like they don't give a fuck. They're going to do whatever it takes to win elections. And Democrats have this holier than thou. We're not going to get our hands dirty. We're not going to, they go low, we go high. All that bullshit. Yeah. And that's why you've lost elections.
Yep.
That's why especially in the South, that's why you've lost elections. Like, and I'm not saying that that's an ideal thing to do, but you have to recognize the landscape and the war that you're playing. If you're fighting a guerrilla warfare, well then you know what? You gotta start doing some guerrilla warfare type shit. Like, you can't fight guerrilla warfare and fight like you're still fighting with muskets in the War of 1812. Like, you just can't do that. Like, you have to adjust to what your enemy is doing.
You're gonna take off your gloves, slap somebody with your gloves, say, I challenge you to it. Like,
exactly.
Way beyond that.
Exactly. And we've gone way farther than we intended to do with this fucking conversation. But I mean, you can't talk about this.
Sports conversation today. A little bit of movies, some politics.
Nigga, that's what we aim to do on the podcast. That's what we aim to do, my dude. You know what I mean? We trying to. But what do you?
We are well-rounded. We are educated minority.
So I guess the question I'm gonna ask you, and we can kind of move on after this, is where do you think this and forget, we put Jerry Richardson, but where do you think this whole sexual assault situation is coming in sports? Like, do you think it's just the beginning? Or do you see this is going to be a little bit less isolated as opposed to in Hollywood?
I think it's a little less isolated because it is kind of a boys' club. But there are in the offices and, do work in the front office and various types of positions and things like that. I think what's going to be the big thing is when people start speaking out against players, cough, Peyton Manning. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's going to affect let me try and restart this. I think it's going to be more so impactful from if and when the reports about players come out versus where the owners come out. Because if the owners do it, it's like, okay, it's the fucking owner. But if it's JJ Watt, the face of a franchise, that's franchise altering. Because that's directly, the fans support the players. The fans don't give a fuck about the owner. You know what I mean? Now, do I think that the owner should be held accountable for their actions? 1,000%. I just don't think that an owner's impact the fans' eyes and the eyes of the public, I don't think that it's going to be, unless you have like a fan base like, the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Green Bay Packers who are very fan driven and they start protesting and things like that. But I don't think we'll ever see that. To be perfectly honest with you, I think that would be the only way that we would see any change. But even then, owner sells his team, makes a cool couple $1 billion off of it, and he's still fucking a rich scumbag. So like, the end game, I honestly don't have the answer. But I do think that if it comes out on the players, I think that's going to be a lot uglier. Like the Darren Sharper thing.
Yeah. Which
I'm surprised wasn't as big as it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know. It is.
I think
football is very much men watch football, and
I think it's
with the anthem protests and things like that. Those types of men, obviously not us. There are types of women who don't give a fuck about what women feel or think. To be point blank, they don't give a fuck. They just care. Let's stick to football. Like, that's all they care about. You know what I mean? So
I think
honestly, like, call me a skeptic, but I don't know if it's going to change anything.
I think it's the tip of the iceberg. I think in Hollywood, I think that's just the beginning. I think you're going to start seeing it in the corporate world. You're already seeing it in the corporate world.
Good.
And I'm in favor of this. I'm prefacing this again. I have to say this because people are going to listen to this and, oh man, he's fucking a sexist. He's defending it. No, like, again, if you touch a woman inappropriately and you use your power in any way to advance yourself sexually, whatever your definition of sexual harassment, misconduct, whatever, you're a shitbag. You're a dirtbag. I can't clarify that. I can't make that more clear than I just did. So we'll go with that. But I think it's the tip of the iceberg. I think because sports is such a male driven field, like it just is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it every sport, for the most part. I mean, I know you had the WNBA, you have women's soccer, right? But for the most part, when we think of sports, it's such a male-driven, entity, field, industry, whatever you want to call it. I think it's impossible to believe that there hasn't been for decades a boys club mentality and a kind of an inappropriateness. I mean, you've seen it. These things have come to light here and there. I mean, you've seen situations where reporters have been mistreated in locker rooms. Obviously, the Peyton Manning situation. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, different players charged with rape, from Kobe Bryant to Mike Tyson to, I mean, the list goes on and on. I think it's the tip of the iceberg, man. I really, really believe that. I think if anything, what's going on in Hollywood, I think it's emboldened women, and as it should. And I think you're going to see this affect men in many fields, not just celebrities, but in everyday life, in corporations, in different companies. So I think if you ask me right now, the Jerry Richardson shit is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, you already saw the other day. I mean, back-to-back days from each other. On Thursday, there was a Boston Globe article published on ESPN having a culture of sexual misconduct. And, you know, Harold Reynolds was let go for some inappropriate shit. Obviously, you know, Steve Phillips was for having an affair with a colleague. I mean, all this shit has gone on at ESPN that's been well reported. So, if you look at this, you know, there is smoke to this fire. So, I mean, ESPN on Thursday. Now you got Jerry Richardson on Friday. So, I mean, the shit is real, man. The shit is real. And I just see that this is just the tip of the iceberg. For real.
Yeah, I just hope that there's I just don't have the answers to what the punishment should be, but I definitely do think that
I think the punishment is public shame, dude. Like, I think like realistically, how much punishment did Kevin Spacey make? Kevin Spacey's worth billions or millions. He's made a shitload of movies. He's won awards. So, like, his life is set for the rest of his life, but his career's ruined, or his career is gonna take a huge hit. I mean, he already lost his fucking award-winning show. So, like, public shame is the ultimate punishment for these guys. Like, public shame. Like, yes, we talk about the billions and millions of dollars that they make, and that you'll never be able to take that from them. You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, the public shame is the ultimate punishment. Harvey Weinstein, his reputation is fucking...
I just think it's different for the owner of a football team.
I think for an owner, I mean, I think you're right. Like, with an owner, I mean, what can you really do because he owns his company? But, I mean, I think you're not giving enough credit to public perception and if fans really rally, people can have these guys put out, man. I really believe that. Like,
right, but I mean, okay, they sell the team, they just fade away to obscurity. But I mean, I guess the punishment is, okay, you get $2 billion for your team or whatever, and then okay, that team probably makes that over the course of X amount of years, so you just missed out on a bunch of profit. So okay, there's the punishment. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have all the answers, and I agree with you. There is no like, you do this shit, you go to jail. Like, realistically, there isn't. I don't want to sound like I don't think that these people should be punished because I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying I hope that they can drag through the mud as much as possible. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that is the ultimate punishment. Your reputation gets ruined forever. Like, I mean, will you ever be able to look at Harvey Weinstein again the way you would have otherwise had you not known about this? Like, you would never. You hear that name, you're automatically going to think a scumbag, a creep, or whatever. Then Kevin Spacey I mean, I know he already had a bad reputation within the industry, but people that don't know the movie industry would have never known that Harvey Weinstein was a shitbag. Like, they would have never known that. I mean, first of all, I doubt that many people who don't know the movie industry, know the movie business, would even know who Harvey Weinstein was. They probably have heard the name before, but they don't know like they know, you know what I mean? So now that you hear that name and you hear what it's associated with, you're going to be like, oh shit, this guy's a piece of shit. He's a shitbag. So that is the ultimate shame. That is the ultimate shame. You know what I mean? Like Kevin Spacey, you know, for as great of a career he's had, like, the public shame of his name is going to always carry that.
I just think that they're more actors and things like that. I just think that they're more public figures than an NFL owner.
I agree. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? I just think that that's where the disconnect comes. But not to say that they 100% deserve to be punished. And whatever the punishment is, I hope that it's fitting for the shit that they've done. And get them the fuck out of there. You don't deserve to own an NFL franchise if you're out here fucking being a wild creep and exposing yourself and things of the like. Like, you don't deserve any of those privileges. And I hope somebody sues you for all of your fucking money. Maybe that's the answer. They fucking sue the pants off of you.
And that's another thing and that's the other thing.
You know what I mean?
And that's the other thing about this and we'll move on. But that's the other thing about this too. Like, if let's say and we're a long way from figuring out whether this is all real or this, trust me. So I don't want to make any predictions either way. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that this Jerry Richardson shit turns out to be true. You know what I mean? What does the NFL care about more than anything else beyond games, players, whatever? They care about two things: money and the shield. They care, and they're symbiotic. They go hand in hand together. Shield and the money. They care about as much the perception of the shield and as much money as that shield can make and generate. That's all they care about. If this shit does come down to be true, the perception of the Shield gets hurt, and that's another fucking dagger in the NFL. In a league that's been suffering in 2017, ratings are down, perception of the league is at it as the worst it's been in 2 decades, or 3 decades, really. And, you know, it's just another thing in a long list of kneels, concussions, player behavior, player safety. Like, it's just another added thing. And I don't think owners are going to put up with it. I think, and the culture that we're living in now, it's a zero tolerance, as it should be. I think if this shit does turn out to be true, I don't think there's a way where the NFL can say, well, you know, what can we really do? You know, I don't think it's going to be acceptable. I really don't. I think people are going to say, you know what, you got to go. You got to go.
Yeah.
As it should be. As it should be. As it should be. No doubt about it.
I agree. And like I said, hopefully the punishments and things like that, hopefully they're up to par and we do get their quote unquote due process. But it wouldn't fucking surprise me at all if these dudes are really doing that, you know, scumbag shit, things like that, you know. So fuck them. And I hope them women get paid for the shit that they've had to endure working with these fucking creepy ass motherfuckers.
I completely agree. And my only disagreement with that in this whole situation has been, I just feel like there should be a fair and honest vetting process. That's all. That's all. Yeah. I feel like that's a fair thing to say. Like, if 45 people came out and said that, you know, I don't know, McDonald's has been poisoning people. Jokes aside, because I know there's many jokes that could come out from that analogy. Yeah, of course they've been poisoning people with that fucking food. But if the reports came out that 50 people all said that McDonald's purposely poisoned people, you know what I mean? Like, I would even say, yeah, there has to be a fair and vetting process. Because who's to say that anybody could come out and say that? Like, somebody could come out tomorrow and say, you know, Justin touched me inappropriately in high school, and it's her word against yours. And you could sit there and say, well, you know, I didn't do it. There's nobody. Already, your public perception is that you did it, because women get the benefit of the doubt in these cases, as they should. And I'm not mad about that. I just feel like there should be a vetting process. That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
I think that's the fair thing. You know, I'm all about fairness in life. And again, if I was Al Franken, I wouldn't have resigned. I would have resigned because of what he did, called for a resignation. I wouldn't have resigned the time he did, because I would have been like, I'm not resigning. I would have been gangster with it. I would have been like, I'm not fucking resigning until this piece of shit resigns. That's what I would have did.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, okay, you guys want to be outraged about me doing it? Let's be outraged about the president. So when he goes, I'll go. Yeah.
When he goes, I'll go. Well, matter of fact, I'd have been like, the day he decides, matter of fact, I'll give him the floor to himself. We'll even coordinate this shit. He could do his resignation announcement at 11. I'll do my shit at 1.
Yeah.
The same day. Until then, I ain't resigning shit.
Yep.
Cause it's not fair.
No, not at all. Why should the person hold?
Because they've literally committed the same crime. And I can make the case that there's more proof that Donald Trump did what he did as opposed to Al Franken. Because Donald Trump on tape, that's the crazy shit, on tape said, I have touched women inappropriately because I am famous.
Yeah. There was the picture of Al Franken.
Yeah, but I mean, a picture as opposed to audio, like, the man said it.
I'm just saying, like, no, it's still not.
Yeah. And again, I don't want this to come off like, oh, you're the liberal defending Al Franken.
There's been women who said the same exact thing that Donald Trump has done to them. Same exact thing.
Yeah.
Like, they've all had stories. I'm like, okay, so all of these women have the same story. They're all lying?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
But we'll see. This hopefully will affect sports. And
I think it's already affecting sports. I really do. I think it's, again, I mean, the ESPN shit. I mean, it was to the point where ESPN had to go out there and throw my man John Buccigross under the fucking bus and release his text messages. You ain't see that shit?
Yeah, I saw it.
Like, that's crazy. They threw my man Buccigross under the bus, though. Hey, it's a dog-eat-dog world, man.
That's the way I live.
Yeah, I feel you, dog. I feel you. What did you think about Stanton, man, to the Yankees, to wrap up?
Bruh, that's baseball is like a circus. And baseball is always going to be the haves and the have-nots. And then sprinkled in the haves and have-nots, you have the guys that play Moneyball. You have, like, you know, the Marlins of every 6 years they make a run, or, you know what I mean? But it's always going to be these high-profile teams that are able to attract the players and the amount of money and things like that. But props to Stanton for calling the Marlins bluff, because they said, so he had the no trade clause, and they said that, all right, you can either go to St. Louis or you can, I think, was it St. Louis? Yeah, St. Louis
or the Giants
or San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was like, fuck you. And they traded him anyway. So I'm all for the players having the power over their careers. And the Yankees lineup is going to be scary. I think they could probably stand to get a little bit better with their pitching down the stretch, but they may not have to because they have a very formidable fucking lineup now. And that's legit scary. You know, if you have him batting third or fourth, you have Judge batting cleanup or fifth or something like that, like, it's going to be very difficult for a pitcher to get through that lineup.
I was disgusted by it. Obviously, you guys know I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee hater. I'm a Met fan, and I'll flame my team in fouls of the week. Trust. Wait for that. But here's the thing with this whole thing. I mean, we could put the rest, and I did a podcast about this. You know, all through the postseason. You know, the lovable Yankees. This narrative that the media was pushing. The lovable Yankees. This is a Yankee team you can like. I like this Yankee team. They're scrappy. They're little cute little puppies. Look at them. Oh, they're so young. Look at Judge. Oh, they're so cute little cuddly Yankees. That's over. That narrative is over. That's done. The cute, lovable loser Yankees. The little engine that could Yankees. Oh, they're so cute. Look at them. They're not even supposed to be here. Oh, that's done. That narrative is over. They're back to being, I always thought they were, because I never bought into that fucking, that media bullshit. Cause either you like, they're the Yankees. This is a Yankee team that you can like? Bullshit. Tell that to a Red Sox fan. Tell that to a Yankee fan. Fuck that. I don't buy that shit. Either you hate the Yankees or you love the Yankees. That's it. It's just like the Lakers, just like the Cowboys, just like any team in sport, any big team in sports. You either love them or you hate them. There's no in between. I'm not gonna sit here 20 years from now in the post-Brady era and say, oh, this is a Patriot team you can like. No. I hate them now. I'll hate them then. Like, it is what it is. Like, this idea that the Yankees were lovable losers that came out of nowhere and blah, 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 blah. They still have a $200 million payroll, by the way. This idea that they came here with young guys that were highly touted, by the way. You know, it wasn't like Aaron Judge was this guy they found in the 15th round. Aaron Judge was a first round pick. Greg Bird, I believe, was a second round pick. You know what I mean? Didi Gregorius was a top prospect. So it's not like they're doing it with a bunch of ragamuffins. This isn't the Oakland A's in 2002. So stop with that narrative that this is a Yankee team that you can love. Okay? That being said, that's done. That's over. That they're back to being, and they always were in my eyes, the evil empire, the team that would do, and I respect them because they do nothing. They stop at nothing to win. That's the one thing begrudgingly that I will give the Yankees over my fucking franchise. They will do anything possible. The Yankees will kill their own mothers to win. Because that's how they are. Because the Yankees, it's about winning championships. That's all that it matters. And that's what every franchise and every single sport should be. If I have to say one nice thing about the Yankees, I'll say that. That's the one thing that I begrudgingly respect. The thing I don't respect about the Yankees is that they do shady shit, man. And this was shady because even though I don't believe that Derek Jeter was intending on trading him to the fucking Yankees, the fact that Derek Jeter, a Yankee great, a Yankee icon, who's now owning the Marlins, traded the Marlins' best player, maybe ever, to the Yankees, the optics of that look fucking terrible. They look awful. That's a bad look. Because the fact is, the Yankees bailed out Derek Jeter. Because first of all, Derek Jeter fucked up. Because you should have had a conversation with Stanton. You should have broken down to him, hey, we can't keep you. Loria made a bad fucking deal, as Jeffrey Loria tends to do when he's fucking owner of a baseball team. He made a bad deal. He gave you an extension. We're $40 million in debt. We can't afford to keep you. Who do you want to go to? Give us 4 or 5 teams you want to go to, and we'll try our best to trade you there. That's what should have been the initial conversation. The Marlins shouldn't have gone out there, talked to the Cardinals, talked to the Giants, go out there, talk to all these teams, when realistically they'd got no sense or no notion that Stanton would even ever go there. That's where they fucked up. So, of course, they found themselves in a rock and a hard place. And I know the reports came out that they threatened Stanton that if you don't approve a trade, we're going to keep you in the Marlins. The fact is, they were never going to keep him. They couldn't afford to keep him. There was no situation where Stanton was ever going to play for the Marlins again.
Terrible mismanagement on the parts.
Awful mismanagement. So then what happens is you're forced to get bailed out. And then, of course, the Yankees come in. Oh, what do you want us to do? I mean, we're just doing our due diligence, blah, blah, blah. And he did fall to their laps. But the fact is, it's just shitty. It's crappy. It's fucking terrible.
It was a perfect storm of bullshit.
Yeah, perfect storm of bullshit. And give the Yankees credit. They pulled the deal off. And they gave up and the worst thing is, they gave up nothing. They gave up nothing to get him. It was literally like I tweeted this the other day. I was like, they vetoed the Chris Paul trade, right? In the NBA. This to me is a more vetoable trade. This is a trade that you should veto over the Chris Paul trade. At least the Mavs got Lamar Odom at a time when Lamar Odom still had some value. New Orleans got Paul Gasol. I mean, they got something back from him. What did the Marlins get? Starlin Castro? A guy who they're going to flip anyway?
Yep.
Some mid-level prospects that'll never play in the majors. If at best they'll get a cup of coffee in the majors. Like, other than that, they'll never play in the majors. They'll never be an impact prospect. So they got nothing. The Yankees literally got Giancarlo Stanton for nothing. For nothing. They gave up nothing. That's the part that really, like, had they had given up even one of their top prospects, had they given up Clint Frazier, Gleyber Torres, you could kind of, and I know why they didn't, because they were able to take on 260 of the 290 something left on the contract. I get why they didn't have to give up much, but I mean, it just still looks bad. It still looks fucking horrible. And again, let me say this to Yankee fans, to media person. I know they don't listen to this shit. I get it. But that the narrative that the Yankees were this lovable team that everybody could get behind and root for, the cute little Yankee engine, that's over. That's done. That's done. Not to mention how they fucking screwed Girardi.
That was rough. That was
and bringing Aaron Boone. And how do you like to be Aaron Boone now? I talked about it on last week's show. Aaron Boone has even more pressure now. This is a guy that's never managed in his life, never coached in his life. And now he's managing a team that's got Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, Greg Bird, Brett Gardner, Didi Gregorius. I mean, where do I stop?
The Yankees are a boys club. If you're a Yankee, you're going to take care of you.
Yeah. I mean, not much you can really say.
That's basically what it is.
Not much you can really say. Not really. I mean, I could not believe. And as soon as the reports came out that the Yankees were trying to get Stanton, I knew they were going to get him. I knew it. I knew that they were going to get him. I knew it. As soon as the Yankees were mentioned, I was like, yep, they're going to get him. And lo and behold,
it's hard to tell the Yankees. To be fair, it's hard to tell the Yankees no.
And here's what I understand, right? These teams keep helping the fucking Yankees. Then you got San Diego makes a stupid ass trade taking on Chase Headley. Like, why would you take on Chase Headley's contract? Like, why? You're not a team that's close to being good anyway. Like, why would you help the Yankees by taking a salary dump? I don't, San Diego of all teams taking a salary dump. I don't understand that one. But AJ Preller may be a Yankee fan in his past life. I don't know, but he did grow up in New York, so he probably was
like how the Yankees are still able to remain like the Yankees. Like, it's just they get a lot of help. Like, it's crazy like that. It's just like, why do the Marlins say like, okay, well, you know what you do? You just, I mean, I like having the players have the power and things like that. I get it. But if he says, no, I don't want to go to St. Louis or the Giants, but he had the no trade clause, so it's like they really overplayed their hand. You know what I mean? Like, say, like you said, hey, give us a list of teams. Where would you like to go? Blah 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 blah. Because maybe he does say the Yankees, and they say, hey, sorry, we can't get a deal done for you to the Yankees, but we have one to go to San Francisco. How do you feel about that? Go play in whatever the hell they call that park now. Is it AT&T Park now?
Yeah, AT&T Park. Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you feel about it now? Okay, that's cool. But you can't give a player with a no trade clause. You can't give him a fucking ultimatum. You cannot. Because he holds the cards.
Leverage is everything in contract negotiations. Leverage is everything.
Shit in return.
Leverage is everything. Mm-hmm. He had the leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then you don't get anything? You don't get nothing. Not a thing in return? It's crazy to me.
Yeah, and then Derek Jeter, and then the winter meetings, and then the winter meetings.
This has been the theme. This has been the theme of our whole show today. Is terrible fucking front offices. Yeah, no shit. And Derek Jeter, is anybody's stock taking a hit more in the last few weeks than Derek Jeter? I mean, this was a guy that was a god as a player, and now as an owner, he's Michael Jordan basically. And that quickly. And Derek, let me write this to Derek, okay, Derek. When your team makes probably the biggest trade in its franchise's history, and you're the owner now, you're not the GM, you're the owner.
I know owner and name because I know Bruce Sherman and that conglomerate that owns the Marlins now. They put most of the money, but you're still an owner. You're still recognized as an owner. You're the guy. And you're the face of that ownership group. Show up at the winter meetings. Okay? Don't do a conference call. Show up at the winter meetings. Okay? Show up. Don't be at a Dolphins game. A Dolphins game. A Dolphins game. And not be in Orlando. Be in Orlando. Answer the questions. Hold a press conference. You know, the Derek Jeter mystique now is going to be very, very interesting because to me, Derek Jeter was a guy that was overcovered and overprotected as a player. You know, his image was everything and the New York media, you know, ate that shit up. Now, you know, as an owner, as a GM, it's going to be very interesting to see. Yeah, you don't get that protection. When you do a stupid ass fucking move, they're going to call you out on it. And I'm going to be very interested to see now how Derek Jeter, I mean, he's already getting ripped. I mean, the South Florida papers are already ripping him, calling him a joke and an idiot and blah, 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 blah. Cause they have no affinity for Derek Jeter. They have no equity base in him. You know, in New York, it'd be different. They just jerk him off like they did for 20 years as a player. You know, so now in Miami, he has no equity built with this fan base, with this community. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. But I mean, the Marlins continue to be a fucking just a joke.
The Marlins are always forever going to be a selling club.
Because baseball in Miami doesn't work. It just doesn't. And that's the bottom line. There's just nothing else.
They got that nice ass stadium that nobody goes to.
Yeah. Because Miami fans in Miami are terrible sports fans to begin with. I mean, Game 6 of the NBA Finals in 2013. Anybody ring a bell? Terrible fan base. Historically, it's just everybody knows. Everybody who follows sports know Atlanta and Miami are the two worst sports fans. It's two worst sports towns in America. So it is what it is. And then you throw into the fact that the Marlins fan base, the very little fan base that there is to the fucking north, and the stadium is south. So this is like they can't win either way. So yeah, the Marlins are a fucking joke. I mean, and Derek Jeter, show up at the winter meetings. Show up. I mean, come on, really?
You have to. That's very you're an important figure.
Had they not made this move, I would have still said show up to the winter meeting. But now, I mean, but you basically made the biggest trade in the franchise's history. You have to show up and answer questions. Don't do a conference call. Don't be at a Dolphins game then later that night. Like it's the optics of it is terrible. You already made yourself look horrible by trading your best player to the Yankees. Like if the Yankees needed any more help,
he's got to learn, and I'm sure he will, that the shit that you got away with as a player, just kind of skating along, you're held for so much more accountable as an owner that you can't continue to just fucking skate through.
Agreed.
It's just like,
yeah. And now I gotta watch these arrogant fucking Yankee fans talk shit. And now I gotta watch these arrogant Yankee fans talk shit. Oh, we got that. They're gonna be so fucking obnoxious. Oh god, yes. Is there any more of an obnoxious fan base? I mean, they make the Cowboys fans look like fucking good people. Jesus Christ, dog. Yankee fans are the most annoying fucking... We got 20,000 championships, even though most of them were only alive for like 15 of them.
Half of them came when fucking the Negro Leagues were still around.
Exactly. So, please, stop. But, yeah, that's Yankee fandoms for you. That's the Yankee fans for you.
We got a shootout. We got a shootout in Pittsburgh going.
Yeah, I see. Anyway, man, let's get the fouls of the week.
Brothers and sisters! Brothers and sisters! I don't know what this world is coming to!
Fouls of the week, man. You want to start? What's your foul of the week, man?
My foul of the week. You know what? I had a good one last night, and I didn't write it down, and I fucking forgot.
See what happens with old niggas, man?
This exactly. It's a good one. It was a good one. My foul of the week. Matter of fact, I do remember. It's fucking fans. Whether it's the Star Wars fans, sports fans. Over the past couple weeks, I've seen some of the hottest takes from some fans, and it's been so exhausting, dog. But mostly because of Star Wars fans. We talked about it at the top of the show. Go fucking enjoy the goddamn game. That's what it's there for. Not everything has to be a fucking thesis statement. Not everything has to be broken down into a research paper. Go enjoy the fucking movie, dog. If you hate it so much, go become a producer. Go write a script. Go pitch an idea to somebody. Mm-hmm. Make your own science fiction franchise. Do something. Get the fuck off the internet or enjoy it. That's my foul of the week. Not very sports related, but
Hey, it's all good. It's all good, man. My foul of the week, and it's, you know, I could have went in different directions. I was originally going to go with, ESPN and throwing John Buccigross under the fucking bus. Like that just was just like, come on, dog. Like, really? Hey, we gonna throw that man's text messages out there for everybody to see. And I could have went with Derek Jeter as well. I mean, but we already talked about him enough. We flamed him enough. But the topic of my foul of the week for this week is my favorite team in the entire world. Anybody who knows me knows the team that I love the most, the team that I live and die, even more than my Jets. And Lord knows I've died more than I lived with the Jets. The team that I live and die for, the only sports team that has ever made me cry, like literally tears come down my face, is the Mets. I live and die with that team. It's the first team that I ever loved, the first sports team that I ever got into, that I followed, that I've spent my own hard-earned money to follow on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis, right? I am a frustrated Met fan because I'm just tired. I'm sick and tired of being tired. I'm tired of this fucking franchise, specifically of my owners, Fred and Jeff Wilpon, father and son. Now, as you guys may know, Fred Wilpon was one of the victims of the Ponzi scheme, the Bernie Madoff scheme, and we don't need to fucking replay that. So basically, they lost a shitload of money, and ever since then, they've treated the fucking franchise, a New York franchise. This is not the Pittsburgh Mets. This is not the fucking Tampa Bay Mets. This is the New York Mets with one of the most loyal fan bases in the world when it comes to a sports team. I mean, this is a great fan base. Anybody who knows baseball knows the Met fans are passionate, loyal, crazy as can be, right? And this is an ownership group that has basically treated this franchise for basically the last 6 years as the Minnesota Twins. They don't spend money on the team. They don't spend money on the team. They never talk to the media. They're never transparent with the fans about the fucking troubles that the owners have when it comes to money. And I'm just fucking tired of it. And I'm tired of it. And it really came to a pass today, or it really came to a fucking forefront this week when I see the Yankees getting Giancarlo Stanton. And again, I'm not delusional. I know the Mets didn't have the prospects or the capabilities to take on that salary. From a realistic standpoint, I knew that. But then I started thinking further. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why don't the Mets have the capabilities of taking on Giancarlo Stanton? And the answer was clear to me. It wasn't even about prospects. It wasn't even about any of that. It was about the fact that we have fucking inept owners. And we have owners that fucking put their money and their fucking financial wherewithal at stake to make an extra buck and lost and made a bad business deal. And guess who has to pay for it? The Met fan. I have to pay for it. Me, the Met fan. I have to pay for the fact that Fred Wilpon made a bad fucking business decision and fucking decided that, hey, Bernie Madoff is a good, trustworthy guy to fucking invest in. So I have to fucking pay for it? No. I'm tired. And so is every fucking Met fan out there is tired of our team being ran like a small market team. This is a team that has a fucking tight window, very tight window, but nonetheless, we have a chance to win a championship with this amazing collection of arms. Yes, the pitching has regressed. They've been injured, but they still have them there, and they still have the ability. They still have it. And instead of going out there and improving this team, and I'm a realistic fan, I'm not sitting there saying, go get Giancarlo Stanton, go get this guy, go get 14 All-Stars. I'm not that guy. But when you have the ability, when you have a chance to get an All-Star and really not have to give up much instead of money, go get him. Go get him. Do whatever it takes. Do whatever it fucking takes. But nope, not the Mets. No. And then the part that really upsets me, you know what? I can give you a pass on Giancarlo Stanton. I can, as much as I hate it, I can give you a pass on Giancarlo Stanton. Right? But then you come to the winter meetings, you make no moves of any real significance. And what's the main theme that you're hearing out of the meetings? What's the main themes you're hearing out of the Mets? That the Mets are going to reduce payroll. That the Mets are not going to be able to that we only have $30 million in a budget to spend. This is a team that's collected insurance money from David Wright's contract for the last 2.5 years. 2.5 years they've collected insurance money. I don't know how much that insurance money is, but David Wright basically hasn't played in 2 years. So they've collected a pretty decent penny, I would say. This team has drawn, especially in 2015 and 2016, they drew. So they have revenue. And you mean to tell me you can't go out there and sign decent free agents that $30 million is the only thing to spend? $30 million now. $30 million. Do the Wilpons come out and talk to the fan base? No. Are they transparent with the fans? No. And what pisses me off is that the media has been protective of the Wilpons for far too fucking long. Far too long. Why aren't they getting flamed as they should? Oh, see, the fans are all over them. But you have some people in the media, oh, are you gonna, they went through the Ponzi scheme. No, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. You made a bad business deal. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And a lot of people got hurt by fucking Bernie Madoff. But you know what? Sell the team. Sell the team. Owning a baseball team isn't a right. It's a privilege. You made an investment. You can't afford to keep up that investment. Sell the team. Because the fans shouldn't suffer because you can't afford to act like a New York sports owner. I shouldn't have to suffer. You know what? My team has holes to fill. You know what? You should be able to fill the holes. And I'm not telling you that you have 4 holes to fill, go out and get 4 All-Stars. I'm not telling you that. But you should be able to sit there and say, you know what? We have adequate abilities to fill our needs. Instead, the Mets are fucking shopping and fucking the Dollar Tree of free agents. And, oh, well, you know what? We're going to make bargain investments and blah, 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 blah. I wish you would have made a bargain investment when it came to dealing with Bernie Madoff. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And every year it's the same shit over and over and over and over again. And I'm telling this to Fred Wilpon, to Jeff. Hey, Jeff, take a minute and stop fucking, touching women, because he's a guy that had his little issues with former employees. How about you stop being a fucking jackass and start investing in your team? Hey, Fred, stop trying to pretend that you're still a Dodgers fan and realize that you own the New York Mets, not the Brooklyn Dodgers, the New York Mets, and fucking spend money on your team. I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
I'm sick of it.
You gotta open up the checkbook to get the guys to come.
I'm done, man. I don't even want to continue to go. Fouls of the week. The New York Mets owners. Jeff Wilpon, his fucking Eddie Munster looking ass, and his pops, Fred. Fuck them. That's my foul of the week. Fucking tired of this shit. I feel like I'm a Minnesota Twins fan. I really do. I feel like I'm a Minnesota Twins fan.
That's a good foul, dog. That's like Dennis Rodman foul.
God, dog. I'm just, they drive me insane.
Prime Kurt Lambert.
Now I'm pissed off. Now I'm just angry. But anyway, let's get the hell up out of here, man. I'm just pissed off, man. I got football to watch. Maybe it'll cheer me up.
Bill Lambert. I said Kurt Lambert. I combined Kurt Rambis and Bill Lambert.
You racist motherfucker. White folks. All white people look alike.
But, they were kind of the same player.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, man, we're gonna get up out of here.
The shoe fits.
Yeah, all white people look alike, according to my friend Justin here. They all look alike.
Whoa.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get the hell up out of here, man. We're done for this week. As always, man, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. I know I bore you guys with this spiel every week, but you guys have to realize if you guys don't listen, we wouldn't have shit to do, because it's hard to do a podcast with nobody listens. So thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting the show. I didn't bring this up earlier, but this is an anniversary show. 1 year ago, exactly as of last Tuesday, we have been 1 year here at the Technical File Podcast. 1 year. Amazing. December 12th of 2016 is when we started the podcast. Very first episode. And it's been a year, and it's been a long year. It's been a lot of ups and some downs, nothing like major, just, the pitfalls of starting a new venture, a new model, a new business. Cause this is a business. I mean, we got to buy equipment. We got to buy apps. We got to buy, different things to keep this podcast going and keep it growing and doing the things that we do. So, it's important. And, it's been 1 year. And it's been a lot of ups and some downs, but we're still here. We're still on the air. People are still listening. We're still growing slowly but surely, but we're growing. And I just want to say to everybody that has contributed to the show, that has been a co-host on the show, has been a guest on the show, thank you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. This has been a dream of mine since I was 12 years old, and this dream has come to reality. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that has played a part in this. And to you guys, the listeners, however many of you are out there that listen to the show, that contribute to the show, that listen and are fans of the show, whether you provide feedback, whether you just listen, I just want to say thank you to you too, man. You guys have been an important part of this show for the last year, and I couldn't have done this, and none of my co-hosts could have done this without you guys. So, some of the goals for next year is to keep getting better, to keep improving on the show, to keep getting bigger and better, because that's the goal. to keep getting bigger and better is the goal of this podcast and this show weekly, is to continue to grow this podcast, to be the biggest podcast in the world. That's the goal. If you're not in it to be the biggest thing in any field that you do, then you shouldn't be in it. If you're flipping burgers, you should be the best fucking burger flipper there is. If you're fucking a lawyer, you should strive to be a fucking judge someday. You should strive to be the fucking greatest lawyer that there's ever been. So I try to live my life that way, anything I do. So I'm podcasting now, and the goal for me is to make the greatest podcast that there ever is. So, that's the goal for next year, man, as we enter year 2. To get bigger, to get better, to have more guests. That's the goal. And we're working on it. We're trying to line up some different guests so we can have weekly guests to talk about different topics. And, just to continue to grow as a podcast, to continue to grow as hosts, to keep bringing y'all content that is unlike other podcasts out there. And I really believe that we provide a voice that is unlike any other show out there. Because we're sports fans, and yes, we curse and we're loud and we're obnoxious, but I like to think that more than anything else, we provide knowledge and insight and, just opinions, hard hitting opinions, and not everybody's going to agree, but hard hitting, knowledgeable opinions. And that's what we try to bring to the table. So, I know it's been long winded, but, I just want to say thank you, man. A year is big. A lot of podcasts don't even last 2 weeks. Real talk. A lot of podcasts don't even last 2 weeks. The majority of them don't even last 6 months. So the fact that we're still here a year in, I think we all should give ourselves a round of applause, from listeners to myself to all my co-hosts, man. We should all give ourselves a round of applause, man, because it's what we're trying to do here is big. So again, just thank you to everybody, man.
We're out here, and the job's not done yet. So, everybody, you guys can count on us just as much as we count on you to listen and keep delivering you guys the content. Drop us some reviews, drop us some comments and all of that. But let's keep pushing. Let's make it more years and let's make it bigger and better than what we started. And that's the goal, like Manny said. So, we're going to go into year 2 with a fucking full fucking head of steam. And we want y'all to come along with us. So let's get it. Merry Christmas, everybody. If we don't talk to y'all before, I keep forgetting.
No, we'll definitely do a show. Because we'll definitely do. We'll probably not do a show next weekend because obviously Christmas is coming up. But we'll definitely do. We'll be back with y'all after Christmas. We'll figure that out. We'll figure it out. If anything, I'll probably do a solo show right before Christmas. Depends on how the news is this week. Coming up. But yeah, man, I just want to say thank you to everybody involved, and a special shout out to one of my original co-hosts, Lucas, man. He's been on the show day one. I know his appearances on the show have been kind of on and off again. Life gets in the way, man. So, he just had a baby. Shout out to him. Congratulations on him and his lovely wife for a new addition to their family. I forgot to say that at the beginning of the show. So shout out to Luke, man. And thank you to Luke, man. He's been one of the people that have supported this passion and this dream even before there was ever a podcast. So shout out to him, man. Real talk. Shout out to him. And, shout out to my co-host now today, Jet, man. Anytime I call this man and I wanted to be a part of the show, he's always giving with his time, and it's not easy. It's not easy doing this show, carving out 2 hours of your day to talk sports. So I just want to thank him and thank all my guests, man. Thank every person I've ever interviewed on this show. It's only been a few. But any person I've ever interviewed on this show or been a part of this show in one way, shape, or form, I just want to say thank you, man. And as far as supporting and, subscribing, you guys know the deal. Every week is the same thing. Follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Snapchat, everywhere we're there. You can listen to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, every other podcast. You guys know the deal. So, we're going to get up out of here, man. As my co-host said, Jet. As my co-host Jet said, Merry Christmas if we don't talk to y'all before then. But we'll definitely be back.
I shouldn't say just Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, man. Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate. Yep.
It is that you and your family celebrate. I want you to have the best fucking holiday that you can have.
Real talk. So,
if you don't celebrate them holidays, then that's cool too.
Just have a blessed time. Whatever, have a blessed time.
Have a blessed time.
Word. We aim to please everybody around here, man.
the holiday spirit confined to one set of beliefs or one or another. Everyone should feel it. So
whatever you celebrate,
positive with the time. If you have some time up, go volunteer, go make a donation, do something, spend time with your friends, family, loved ones, and don't drink and drive, please.
Real talk.
That's it.
Real talk, man. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody. Like I said, we'll try to do a show next week if time permits. If not, I'll probably come back just on my own if the news warrants it as well. We also have our best of 2017 show coming up right around the corner. We'll do that definitely before the new year. So yeah, just a couple of things to look forward to in the next week or so. And then of course, on to 2018, you know, guns a-blazing, man. So, from me and all of my co-hosts and all the guests that I've been on this show, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll catch y'all next week, everybody. Peace.